Are you ready, Sheriff? Ready, Barry?
Jan's not coming.
We'll call the meeting to order of the Wright County Planning Commission for June 6, 2024. Has everybody been able to look over the minutes from the May 16th, 24 meeting? And if so, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any other discussion? Is there any other discussion? Do we have any other discussion on the minutes from May? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same way. Motion carries. First on the agenda tonight is the Arbor Creek Holdings LLC, and that has gone for findings and public hearing has been closed. So Barry or Greg, do you want to give us an overview?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, at the last hearing, it was motion to have council prepare findings for denial. Excuse me. Findings for approval were presented at that meeting, so what you have in front of you are both. So it's up to this commission to decide which way you want to proceed with it.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any discussion on that, or do we have a motion to present? Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I would like to move to adopt the notice and order for denial of conditional use permit for a land alteration with findings as presented.
Right,
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion? Do I have any discussion?
Are we allowed to withdraw?
I think at this point, without asking council, but at this point, we're going forward with findings.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, it's the policy of the Planning Commission that once findings for denial have been ordered to be drafted by council, that the opportunity to withdraw at that time is extinguished.
Okay. Okay. Public comment is closed. Is there any other discussion up here? If not,
But, sorry, Mr. Chair. I guess my only point on the discussion on the findings is that although I think that they are well drafted, I didn't think that the record evidence supported that the lake's quality, the water quality of the lake was going to be degraded. There were issues about cutting into the slope, and having fill down in there. I think that the findings on the denial are a little bit heavy in terms of the anticipated effects to the lake water itself. But I wasn't here for the last meeting. I thought the discussion as reflected in the minutes was thoughtful, and I understand which way the wind blows.
okay. Any other discussion here at the board? Jean?
Chairman, I did have an in-depth conversation with Luke, who heads up the soil and water for Wright County. And he and his staff were not excited about this at all. And they understood, the screening, but they said it's very flat, it's very low, it's very, and they were disturbed by the amount of fill. Just the fill was gonna be 500 truckloads of 14
cubic yards in a truck. There would take 500 trucks to bring that amount of dirt in.
And that's not including the cement trucks and, the various things for building material. And so that, and the fact that the townships were not in favor. And when I left the meeting prior, I felt it was understood that after we denied the last request, that the house would be on top of the bluff. I never thought that they would then proceed to go and go through it. And our ordinance does state that you cannot disrupt a bluff. So for that reason, that's why I felt very strongly for it.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Dan?
I would concur with Mr. Malberg there that it's, I don't believe it's gonna affect the lake quality whatsoever. And I think the end result was gonna be better for the lake with that bluff, so. I've said that all along, I don't know how many times I can say it, but I know that land alteration is really tough to deal with sometimes, but if it's done correctly, it can be better for the lake in the long run, so.
Right?
Mr. Chair, members of the
Council?
Planning Commission, maybe I should articulate where those findings came from. They were specifically from our land use plan, because we relied heavily on the land use plan in looking at this. And that came from page 56 of the NWQ Northwest Quadrant Land Use Plan, where it specifically states, steep slopes in shoreland areas are especially important to recognize where intense development not only compromises the integrity of these slopes, but once compromised, leads to decreased lake water quality through erosion and siltation.
Okay. Thank you, Greg. Do we have any other comments? Janice?
Yes, I would just like to say that I did vote against this all the way through from beginning to end here. And I'm not wavering and haven't wavered in that decision since it was first brought to our attention. So I would just call the question.
All right. All those in favor of the motion for denial, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same way?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-4. All right, do you have something you need signed?
Yeah, I'll take care of it, Mr. Chairman.
Dan Bravender,
Four.
myself,
Four.
and Pat voted against. Yep, thank you.
Want to make your announcement about service?
Mr. Chair, just so the records will reflect that the applicants were personally given a hand copy sign of the copy of the denial.
Okay, thank you, council. Are you ready, Barry?
We'll be in just a moment. Okay, now I'm ready.
Right. Number 2 on the agenda tonight is Sahid. Is anybody here for that item?
Mr. Chairman, I can take that right from the
Great.
top. The applicant has submitted a signed request to withdraw. There's a motion in the staff report to address their request.
All right, thank you.
And Mr. Chair, I should articulate, since the question came up on the first one as to the opposed to the second one, what the difference here and why we're allowing a motion to dismiss, that because this is for rezoning, and rezoning is final at the county board, and the county board does not have the same policy for withdrawal after a motion for findings has been adopted. So the prior one was for a CUP, this is for rezoning, so hence the difference in policy, since we have a different final decision maker on the application.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion, Your Honor, to dismiss.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and second. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same way. Motion carries. Number 3 on the agenda tonight is Richard Davis, Anyone with that, do you want to come to the podium, please, and give your name, and we'll get started.
Hi, Richard Davis, Monticello.
All right, thank you. Gary, when you're ready?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this matter was continued from the last meeting for site inspection and to get the township's response. The township has responded and they have recommended approval as it follows the designation of rural residential in the land use plan.
Right, thank you, Barry. Do you have anything more you want to add?
I do not.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this matter? Is there anyone from the public? If there's nobody from the public, we'll bring it back up here. And how does the board want to proceed? Do we have any questions, comments, or are we ready for a motion?
I'm prepared to make a motion, Mr. Chair.
Dan?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval to the County Board of Commissioners to rezone PID 213-000-161-400 from Ag General Agriculture to AR Agriculture Residential because it finds the property is aligned with the goals and policies of the Northeast Quadrant Land Use Plan and the township approves.
All right.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Do we have any discussion? If there's no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same way. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Just 1 second, Mr. Chairman. Just contact Josh about the next steps. Oh, we still have to keep subdivision property that keep coming to the county board. Okay, thank you. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Nope, no problem. Number 4 on the agenda is Justin Dooley. You want to come to the podium, please? Give your name for the record.
Yes, good evening, Justin Dooley.
All right, Barry, when you're ready.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, similar to the last one, this one was continued for site inspection. The commission wanted to go out and take a look at the winery site. I believe the last inspection we did was regarding the eastern portion of the property, and this activity is going to be more on that western portion in the kind of in the middle of the winery operation. So planning commission wanted to take a look. Site inspection was conducted, and I haven't gotten any other comments.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything you would like to add?
Yeah, if I could, I didn't have a chance to, I know the meeting minutes haven't been released from last month, but I would like to address some of Sandy's comments on, just the food handling side of things. And, you were concerned about the gloves and I
It
believe,
doesn't pertain to us, really.
what's that?
My challenge was that you were in a building that I didn't think had an occupancy.
Okay, and it does?
There's no seating approved in the building.
Correct.
The kitchen is allowed to be there pending a couple of permits that are outstanding, or a permit that's outstanding. As far as, it's allowed to be in there, but it's the operation of it is pending that.
That was my challenge.
Oh.
Is I was under the impression that you weren't supposed to be cooking in there, and then when I see people cooking without gloves, without hairnets, handling food with their bare hands, and then that there's not supposed to be seating in there, and I walk through and there's makeshift tables everywhere, that concerned me.
Yeah, the makeshift tables are all NSF certified and approved. They're the ones that we also use outside. Yep, they're the tables that we use outside. And if you're familiar with the Minnesota administration rule through the Department of Health, you do not have to wear gloves when you're cooking pizzas. And full transparency, I did a lot of research on it prior to even thinking about remodeling a quarter of the barn to do pizza in there. And there's a lot of cooks that take that more as like an insult because of how they feel the dough and touch it. And any food that is served from directly ready-to-eat food is what they call it in the rules, then you have to be wearing gloves. But if it goes into an oven that is at 135, they just changed it in 2019, 135 degrees for 1 minute, you do not have to wear gloves. And our oven sits at 800 degrees.
Right. Then that just changed in 2019 because I had a food license all the way up till then.
Yep, nope, it didn't, the gloves didn't change, the temperature changed. Because it was 140, they actually lowered it to 135. So,
What
just
about-
wanted to touch on
What
that.
about the gutter?
What gutter?
I mean, I stepped in the gutter that had a board over it and almost broke my ankle.
Yep, so we've
Yeah,
since,
that's not safe.
yep, we've since put concrete in there. We did paint every single spot yellow to try to bring attention to it. But with all the mud and snow that was being tracked in, it was hard to stay on top of that when we were open. But no, the barn is not going to be in discussion until that one, Barry, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the one time dose plumbing.
Yeah, it's a septic permit that includes, it's what we call a septic repair, but pretty much anytime you touch an existing septic, we put it in as a repair, but it has to be, time dosing panel has to be installed. And we're just waiting to get the actual septic design in order to get all that issued and inspected.
Yep. And I've got two septic designs. I think we're trying to figure out, going through them, the logistics of which one is approved or not approved. So,
You have anything else for him, Sandy? Nope. Okay. Does anybody else have anything, or I'll open it up to the public? Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this matter? Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment? If not, we'll bring it back up to here.
Mr. Chair, I do have a question for Mr. Dooley, and this is, what I'm trying to get at here is to try to get a feel for the traffic flow going in and out of there
yep,
through the hours of operation that you're open.
yep.
So can you describe kind of what's going to happen and how long you expect people to be there, and are you going to have different time slots, or how is that all going to work?
Yep, so there'll be time slots allotted at, I believe I have in the minutes, an hour and 20 or an hour and a half. I don't recall exactly what they are. So their families are allowed, an hour and a half in the ice structure. And the ticketing will be it's in the middle of the parking and the structure diagram. The ticketing will be on the east side of the existing parking lot. So when they pull in, there'll be signs directing them, okay, ticketing this way. If the tickets are sold out for that evening, we will be having a big sold out sign, on or at the entrance of the in and out where the gates are. So people know that, if they do want to attend kind of last minute, that there's no more open availability.
And what number of tickets are available?
Yeah.
How many are available?
How many?
Yeah.
So the way that I'm structuring it would be to have the number of parking spots and then -5.
Okay.
So if you average 2 to 3 people per vehicle, some are going to be less, some are going to be more. Excuse me. That's how I'm going to be averaging the number of tickets sold, is mainly by vehicle spots. Because now the reason why I bring up the whole parking side, because I think that was the biggest barrier to entry in 2021 through 2022 when we had the Ice Palace out there. And it really boiled down to not so much the people on the property, which I think was way too much, but more so the parking and the in and out traffic flow of them driving through a field. Did that answer your question?
It kind of does. So you're looking in your packet, it says 100 hour and 25 minutes
Yep.
that you're
And
expecting.
I use that time frame because my predecessors set their time frame or time time slots, 700 people per half hour. Now, that's a lot of people per half hour, and there was multiple times that they were sold out. Obviously, that is way too many people, even for that property alone. Granted, they did have ample parking if the parking worked properly. But with that, it is going to be set at an hour 25 or an hour and a half, we'll just call it, because I can go on our POS system, Toast, and see on the average ticket time of when somebody opened their tab and closed it, and that average ticket time, I'd have to double check, it was between 25 and 35 minutes is what a family, stayed for. So I'm guessing that that's going to be, plenty of time for, an hour and a half for families to come in and go out. Along with that, we're not going to have a lot of entertainment there when it comes to, the Ice Palace had like Disney characters that kids could take pictures with, and different things that they could do inside the Ice Palace. They had a big fire show that lasted 20 minutes. We're not going to have that, so people are going to come, walk through the ice structure, hopefully buy something, and then leave. So that would be the goal.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other comments, questions? I guess then, if there's no other comments or questions, how does the board want to proceed? Anyone prepared to make a motion? Dan?
I'm prepared to make a motion. I guess I was trying to get, before I make a motion, I was trying to get to the point where we determine whether we actually needed traffic control or anything like that. And I don't think I would add that into the motion because it seems like people will be coming and going,
From the
on
one
a regular
gate,
basis.
right?
Yeah, one gate, only one entrance, so.
The other question with their thought, is there anything where you consider security? Is there anything, the amount of people going through there?
And sorry, I don't mean to interject.
At this point, no, but
Yeah,
This
and
was-
knock on wood, we've never had a problem with over-serving. All of our bartenders go through TIPS training, which is an online certification on, what to look for if you think somebody might be intoxicated, what to do if they are and they want another beer or a glass of wine. Like I said, knock on wood, we've never had an issue like that where we had to have cut somebody off, and we'd like to keep it that way. I mean, we're a very family-friendly, experience-oriented winery. Sandy, again, I apologize that you did not have that experience. Let's just say if I were to do it over again and I know what I know today, there's no way the two words ice and palace would be at Fountain Hill Winery.
Do you ever have challenges with people trying to carry in their own bottle?
Oh, no, nope, nope.
If you did, it'd be taken away.
Absolutely. No, we've done, I think maybe 3 weddings out there, and I saw people behind the car, taking the little shots and stuff, and I immediately put a stop to that. The experience side goes out the window when I see that.
So, Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Dan?
And just to let Mr. Dooley know that the township is requesting a 1-year IUP.
Okay.
And I will be making a motion for that effect.
Okay.
Okay? To approve an interim use permit for a winter attraction as a commercial outdoor recreation use to include an ice structure, skating rink, sledding hill in accord with the plans description held on file in the discussion with the following conditions. Number 1, This approval shall be interim in nature, with the use being limited to December 1st, 2024 to May 1st, 2025, and shall expire on May 1st, 2025. A new interim use permit will be required for further operations after May 1st, 2025. 2, the limitation on visitor numbers for the winery shall be suspended during the operation of the winter attraction, and the dates noted in the condition number 1 allowing for increased footfall during this period. All Wright County county highway access requirements must be met and the appropriate permits granted. Portable toilets must be provided for large gatherings in accord with the letter dated February 2nd, 2023 from the Wright County Environmental Health Officer. 5, all conditions from all prior conditional use permits are incorporated herein by reference unless specifically addressed by another condition as a part of his interim use permit. 6, septic system permit must be properly completed, issued, and inspected prior to operations of the pizza kitchen. Additionally, all buildings to be used by the public must have the appropriate permits applied for, issued, and the final inspection approved, as well as a certificate of occupancy issued prior to use.
Can I? Sorry.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
I'll
Can I-
second that.
Okay, we have a motion, a second.
Sorry, before it goes to the next phase, I would really like to add in I'd like to go on record to say that if anybody, even in the audience or board members, sees anything during this event that they disagree with or don't like, or there's a car with blue headlights, or I don't know, whatever it may be, if they could reach out to me and let me know, so we can make that correction right then and there versus coming back to the board and then hearing about it, months later when I thought everything went okay. It's the same request that I asked from Franklin Township as well. And that would be, I guess, my only request, just so that we can stay on top of that. Because, let's be honest, I hope everything goes off without a hitch, but
Do you have a business card?
yeah, yes, I do. I have it in my
I
truck.
would be hesitant to put that in the motion.
Yeah.
And Mr. Chair, just from a staff standpoint, I find that statement incredible. The way that you treated the highway department with your access permit, the way that you treated this wetland when you were told that you filled it in and not to fill it in, the way that you had 2 accesses open when you were told to close one, the way you had illegal
Sorry.
signs, the way you had illegal cut and then correct it with the
Sorry.
highway department leads me to believe that that's not a credible statement. So I'm just going to
Correct.
tell you from a staff standpoint, I find that hard to hear right now.
Okay, so again, going back to the Ice Palace, I realized that they rented my property, but they did things on my property that I did not agree with. And I told them that, and if they were here right now, which I wish they were, I would definitely let them know that, again, the issues that I'm facing today with Wright County and Franklin Township are absolutely obnoxious, because those issues I had, other than just shutting the whole thing down, I didn't, and cutting our 5-year contract, I had no control over that. I didn't put the gravel in the wetland. I did exactly what the Wright County Water and Soil recommended I do, and I removed it. I did not put the signs up on the road. And what was the other one?
But you also didn't remove it when you were asked to.
When I
Correct.
was asked to what?
Remove the illegal sign, right? It
Yes.
stayed up there for an excessive amount of period of time.
I'm sorry.
We're getting off topic here. I'm just
No, but I
telling
would like
you,
to know
your
what sign
statements
you're
here are a
talking
little
about.
incredible.
I would like to know what sign you're talking about.
The illegal one that you put in the road right away that you were told by Virgil Hawkins to remove about 5 times and didn't.
I did not put that sign there.
It doesn't matter. It was on your property. It was for
It
your
was not on
event.
my
It was for
property.
your IUP.
It was not on my property. It was
It's
in the
your
right of way.
responsibility,
It was in the right of way. It wasn't on my property.
which is your property because we own it by easement.
It was on the
So
right
you
of way.
own
on
the
the-
underlying fee and you left it there and you let it be there after you were specifically told to remove it numerous times, both in your permits and both verbally and through email by the county engineering staff.
Okay,
I'm just, I mean, we can end it here.
Nope.
We can disagree.
I would
I'm just gonna
like,
tell
I
you
would
from
like
a
to
staff
see those,
standpoint,
I would like
you're
to
incredible.
see, I would like to see those emails.
You have them, Justin. 'cause
I would
they were
love to
sent
see
you
them.
directly.
I would love to see them.
Your attorneys also have them, Justin. You can ask them from them.
Okay, I will. And I believe that that case was thrown out because they couldn't prove that I was the one that put them up because I didn't. I didn't buy them, nor did I put them up.
Well, let's go forward with this. We have a motion here, and let's just put it this way, you are on watch. I mean, this is for
Yep.
1 year. Franklin Township has asked for a 1-year IUP. The motion is for a 1 year, so you'll be back here basically in 1 year, and I hope everything went absolutely perfect, signage, parking, traffic.
Yep.
And we have no problems going forward.
Yep. And I just ask again if you guys could let me know prior to.
And I guess if you
Running
are made
into it.
aware of something, I would hope the result would be
Yep.
it was taken care of within 24 hours,
Absolutely.
that type of a situation or sooner.
Absolutely.
So we have a motion on the floor. Is there any more discussion here?
Is there a second, Mr. Chairman?
I second it.
Okay, just one bit, as far as the plans, let's do that per the description, Exhibit A, which is the email from Justin to Josh Butters in my office dated Thursday, April 4th, 2024. So it's just that email you sent with your narrative.
For
The motion is in accord with the description and plans on file. So this is the description portion of it. It was in your email.
okay.
So I'm just saying, we're just going to reference this as Exhibit A.
Yes.
Dated April 4th, 2024.
Yep.
Is that okay with,
At 2 a.m.
okay with you as a second? All right, is that added in as exhibit? Is there any other discussion here? If there's no other discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
you.
same way?
Aye.
Motion passes, and let it show that Sandy opposed. Thank you, Justin.
Thanks.
Number 5 on the agenda tonight is Jessica Severson. If you want to come up and give your name, please, for the record. If you want to hold on a second. Since Barry's ready, we'll get started.
Just email him. He's in part of the email.
If you could give us,
Good evening. Thank you for your time. My name is Jessica Severson. My husband and, I don't know if there'll be a picture. My husband and I bought a lot the North Folk development back in 2018, built our house. It's the property.
can I stop you? We'll have Barry give an overview, and then you can add in.
Absolutely, sorry.
Barry,
Yes,
you're ready.
Mr. Chairman, the property is a 6.0 acre parcel in Franklin Township that is platted as North Fork. It was platted in 2014 as part of a PUD. Part of the conditions on that were that all driveways in that portion of the development access onto 44th Street. This request is to amend that condition, allow access onto 45th Street. And also, there was a bit of a miss. The document itself has 2 condition 5s, and I think when I was reading through it, I read condition 4 and made a note, went back, saw condition 5, and I skipped the first condition 5, which I will call 5A, which says house plan or house locations roughly in accord with the development plan with minor alterations, which we commonly see in plan unit developments. So in this case, condition number 5 would also move the house, an amendment to condition 5 would move the house from the north side of a wetland that bisects the property that you can kind of see in that aerial to the south end of the property. The survey provided also shows that. So as the conditions of the PUD, all driveways were supposed to be off of 44th Street. This is a request to amend that condition, allow a driveway access onto 45th, and move the house location to that location as well. As part of these types of scenarios, when we do get them, because we get them from time to time, we did require that they provide 2 new soil borings, since we're basically completely flipping house location. We don't have any borings on that end of the property, so they have provided borings. Environmental Health has approved the borings for both primary and alternate type 1 septic sites. We did receive approval from the township, And we did get one neighbor that has indicated that the driveway has already been built, does not have concern regarding the change in the roadway or which road it accesses, but is concerned about drainage in the area.
Okay. Thank you, Barry. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Absolutely. Thank you. That was a great summary of what we've requested. We're looking to build a one-level home for my parents who are aged out of a lot of stairs and a steep driveway. So we're looking for a very flat portion of this property to put their home. This is the best spot as far as level goes. So that's why we're asking to move the driveway off of 44th Street so that they don't have a steep driveway, they don't have to go downstairs for their daily acts of living, that sort of thing. I absolutely, the note about the driveway already being in existence, we are working with a builder. We're not under contract. We've just been using them to plan the project and hopefully move forward with them. They've given us the survey and the house plans. They got a good deal on some dirt. And they said, well, we have this fill. And we said, yep, free dirt is good dirt. And that was the last we heard of it until they started moving it in last Tuesday, which is very unfortunate timing. Had we been asked, we would have said, nope, we have a meeting on Thursday. We need to hold off on this. So unfortunately, it looked very much like a driveway had already been moved in. The ditch has already been restored. The dirt was moved in. It's a very small amount on a 7-acre lot. So but it does very much. And I sent emails to the county right away because I also disliked how that looked, like we were putting the cart before the horse, which we were not. And if the project were not to go forward, we would just smooth it out into an ice rink. I don't know. But I did also not like how that looked. And I'm sure that that's the way that it looked to our neighbors. I think it was the same day we got our letters. So unfortunate, but want the board to know we were not acting out of order. We are absolutely waiting for approval. We're not under contract for anything. No site work has been done other than the soil borings, but do respect how that looks and want to acknowledge how that looks. We are asking for approval for the moving of the house to a lower or to a more level spot on the south end, and then the driveway off of 44th Street, which we do feel is very consistent with the neighborhood and the locations of our neighbors' driveways. Thank you.
I guess one of the questions I didn't hear you talk about the drainage.
Oh, yes. There is, so the wetlands are totally avoided. You can see them, the drainage and utility easement. There's a pond to the north, which is quite a ways away from the home. And then the drainage is not touched at all. So we are totally avoiding wetland and drainage issues. This is the highest part of that lot. Other than, I should say, the north end of the property is quite high. It's artificially high. I think when they developed the subdivision that they put, it was a dumping zone for a lot of the dirt. So it is artificially high. So it is higher there, but that would require a very steep driveway if we were to locate the home there. And that's one of the things we're trying to avoid. But the wetlands are completely not touched by any of our proposed development of the south end of the property.
Okay, thank you. Welcome. Do we have anything here to start with, Dan?
When you're started putting your driveway in that you don't have in yet,
Yes.
did the township approve the driveway? Do they have a driveway approval?
The township has approved the relocation of the driveway to 45th Street.
And did they require a culvert under your driveway?
There is no driveway. There will be a culvert requirement.
There is a culvert under it?
No, there is not, because there isn't.
Sorry, they need a culvert though, is that what they're saying?
There will be a culvert. I don't know if there's a requirement.
My guess is.
No, the township will make that decision.
Yes. And I think that because there's a ditch there, there will be a culvert whether they require one or not. I think that will be our choice to allow water movement to move under the driveway.
Okay, you stated that it was a high part of the lot, so I was wondering if it was a known part, so that there's no culvert required, or if it's on a slope, so they require a culvert.
The road is the same height as the proposed house site. I think there is a
Right,
8-inch.
but I'm more concerned about the pitch of the ditch.
Yeah.
If that's what the complaint for the water problem was, that's what I was concerned about.
Okay, there will be a culvert. So if there were to be water stoppage there wouldn't be for the driveway.
Okay, there will be a culvert. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I believe at this point, I mean, they haven't applied for the access permit for the township. Franklin Township does require access permits. And so just make sure that permit gets applied for before the actual driveway gets constructed. actually had that issue in another development south of here a couple of months ago.
Okay, that's it.
Anything else here? I'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone that would like to comment on this matter? Is there anyone that would like to comment? Nobody from the public would like to comment? We will bring it up here. How does the board want to proceed? Any more questions, concerns? Oh, if you just want to have a seat?
Yes.
If you want to come up, please, and give your name for the record.
My name is Robert Bauman. I own a farm that's directly west of there.
Okay.
And all that water that comes from that lot, that whole system comes down across my land. And the ditch isn't quite fixed up so that it's supposed to run through a culvert through 44th Street. It's supposed to run down through a culvert into the pond, and then it runs underneath my property with a tile, a drain tile. It runs way down to the North Fork.
Okay.
I'm just wondering how that's going to impact my property. Right now, all that water is running across my land, and it doesn't go through the culvert. So has to be a alteration there.
Now, you're saying that the water comes down along 44th Street?
Or 45th Street.
We're,
45th, maybe.
well, are you saying your water is coming down 44th Street and then into the tile, into the wetland? Is what you're saying?
Which one is 44th?
The top one.
The top one? This is 45th then.
Okay,
Top of the screen is 44th, bottom of the screen is 45th.
so is it coming down 45th or is it coming down 44th?
45th,
45th,
yeah.
okay. And where about is the location of your tile, do you believe?
It runs all the way down to where it comes into Farmington. Almost. It's supposed to run underneath the 45th into a pond, and then it runs back through underneath a tile.
Okay,
Chairman, is this on a ditch system?
No, it's not a county ditch.
Not a county ditch, okay.
No, it's just a county. Township did.
Can you point out where his tile is running?
Well, I'm not really sure. I do believe this is Mr. Bauman's property here. And so this is the lot that
Yeah.
we're discussing here. So in this case, the majority of this lot's water goes to this
Wetland.
pond, which, as you can see here, at one point, there was a driveway that actually came across. When this was platted, that driveway was the actual driveway to get to this house that's up by the Crow. And so there does appear to be likely some ditching and water moving along 45th Street. Exactly where that goes once it reaches this point, I don't know. There hasn't been a evaluation to go, indicate where any tile is. I'm unaware of any tile or any tile inlets in there. My guess would be there is likely some type of drainage that goes through here and then down to the Crow. In fact, you can see it. This is some type of swale or gully that does empty out into the Crow. And just looking at topography, it's gonna come down here someplace. Some of it might run past, and then when it gets to here, this is all lower topography, so it's gonna run, this way.
Mr. Bauman, are you talking about field tile that you put in? I'm up here, front of you, right here.
Where's that?
Sandy's
here.
speaking. Mr. Bauman.
Right here, Mr. Bauman, right in front of you.
Sandy's
Is
asking.
this field tile that you're referring to that you put in?
Yes.
Okay.
There's also a tube underneath that 45th Street that runs, supposed to take all that water and run it across into that O2, eat something there, that, in that pond. It's supposed to go to the south, field tile, and it runs into that little low spot there, and then it runs from that tile across down into the corner of Farmington and 44th Street.
Yeah, it looks like it
think that-
would run right here.
Huh? Yeah.
Right behind the
Runs
farmhouse.
right down that spot, yes.
Yep.
Into that corner, and then it runs
there's
into
another
two
culvert
ponds
right
down there on that property. That corner across the street crosses Farnham into a pond, and runs from Farnham across 40, well, what is that street now?
That's 44th there.
That's 44.
44th again, and it runs all down to the Crow.
But,
It's complicated.
but do you know, I guess this would be something for you to get with soil and water. The lot we're talking, or the property we're, talking about is above that by about
Yeah,
two
you couldn't,
lots.
yeah,
And if the water is running down towards your place and then running out and across,
across my property.
yeah, I don't know how this will affect your property.
I don't either.
I don't believe it will. And I guess if there's a concern with the tile, maybe you can get with the landowner, because we don't want to be breaking any tile or disrupting any tile, because it will affect many people potentially. So if there's tile found, they'll have to repair and fix.
Well, I guess it could be altered right into that where that culvert is underneath 45th, straight south. It could be altered a little bit with a little bit of dirt work there. Could be forced to go through that tile, or that culvert, and then back through my tile.
Yeah, and that would be something to work with the road and the culvert with the township. To
I
do
better
that,
do that.
okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to comment? If not, we'll bring it back up here again. Do we have any other questions, concerns, or is somebody prepared to make a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion unless there's any further discussion from the other commissioners.
Ken? Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the amendment conditions number 4 and number 5A of document A1288548 in accord with the plans and description held on file, and based on the discussion to allow driveway access for Lot 3, Block 3, North Fork, onto 45th Street Southeast and moving the building location south of the wetland with the following conditions. Number 1, access permit must be applied for with Franklin Township prior to building permit issuance. All other conditions stated in the subdivision approval remain in full force and effect.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. I guess I would ask, could you consider to the motion, if there's any drain tile found, that they would be fixed and repaired or made to continue to work.
I don't know if we can dictate whether they're fixed or repaired, because once they're in for a certain amount of time, Mr. Chair, aren't they, you can't repair them, or you?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, we can.
Oh, yes, you can.
Okay,
That's one thing in the law. They say you can't make them larger, but you can fix and repair.
okay.
Yeah, we did that with solar farms. You know, we required them to fix them and repair them if they hit tiles, if you
What
remember.
was Charlie talking about that one time
Oh,
about?
I don't know.
Okay, never
We
mind.
got a motion on the floor.
Call the question.
We
No,
got a motion on
Mr.
the
Chair,
floor.
relative to your question, yes, I would agree that we could perhaps add a condition number 3 that should any drain tile be disrupted, broken, or harmed, that it would be up to the property owner to repair such drain tile.
That's
I'm
agreeable.
fine with that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there
Yes.
any other discussion? There's no other discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same way. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Number 6. Can you help me with this one, Ken?
Yeah, let me see what one was that.
For Indes. I'm not good with names.
Verandi Soto LLC.
Yeah, all those pertaining to number 6, if you want to come to the podium, please. Want to give your name for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Paul Schreier. I'm the president of Veranda Soto.
Okay. Barry, when you are ready.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this property is located just south of I-94 at the Hasty Clearwater exit in Silver Creek Township. It's 91.45 acres, has frontage on County Road 8 to the east and 148th Street Northwest to the north. The property is currently split zoned, which was done, I believe, in 2004, where the northern portion of the property, kind of northwestern, is B2, and the remaining portion of the property is agricultural residential. 96 is when that was done. It is in the Northwest Quadrant Land Use Plan as commercial. The property's never been or never had any development requested for it. So what they're looking for now is to expand the B2 portion of the property to include what you can see there as proposed B2 and proposed B2 both to the east and to the south, leaving the remaining portion as still zoned agricultural residential. We did receive approval from Silver Creek Township. They did state with recommendations for a comprehensive plan for wells, sewers, and road off of County Road 8. The Wright County Highway Department has commented that only parcel C would be allowed to access on the County Road 8, with parcels A and B of their, which this would be their proposed plan pending rezoning, they would require the accesses for those two parcels to be off 148th Street. One neighbor has recommended a more comprehensive review prior to overall plan, prior to approval for the overall area, and another neighbor does oppose the request.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything you would like to add to that?
All we're really trying to do at this point, we are trying to master plan this. Unfortunately, pieces haven't fallen into place particularly soon. We do have a potential user for parcel B, which is why this reconfiguration is there. We were encouraged a number of times by the township to make this all business, and thought that was pretty simple and straightforward, but Barry bounced that because of the shoreland zoning limits down in the lower corner there. That's why we retain that portion as ag res. Again, we fully understand that if we end up with an if we, we hope to end up with a fairly intense use of parcel A, that, yeah, traffic's definitely an issue, and it's certainly not gonna dump up onto 148 that close to the intersection. But again, all we're really trying to do now is position ourselves to bring some users to this property.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions from the board here to start? If not, I'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the public that would like to comment? Gentleman right there, if you want to have a seat, please.
Hi, my name is Martin Smolensky. I live at 144th Street Northwest, which is directly south of the entire rezoning request. I think probably the biggest concern that my neighbors and I have is the possible disruption of kind of the tranquil nature of our neighborhood, because the parcel A, I believe from the previous map that you put up there, yeah, parcel A, we're concerned about future development in that parcel. We understand that parcel B, I was at the Silver Creek Township meeting the other day, and they spoke about parcel B. They have a potential user being like a truck sales office or something like that, and very low traffic into that, in and out of that office, less than 20 vehicles a day. So we're not too worried about that. That doesn't seem to be a big issue. But the unknown usage of parcel A in the future is the biggest concern. I mean, the truck stop at Hasty right now it's there and it's okay because it's kind of off in the distance. It doesn't really affect our neighborhood that much. You don't really hear or see anything that goes on up there. We have more noise from people going up and down Route 8 than we do from the truck stop. But so that's our concern about the possible future use of parcel A. There was there were rumors when we bought our lot in the development there, which was like 6 years ago, about them potentially someone trying to be able to put another truck stop there or something like that. And a truck stop in that portion would be really poor as far as our neighborhood goes, with noise and lights and 24/7 noise and everything like that. So that's the basic concern I'm just relaying from, me and my neighbors in the area. So that's, I think that's pretty much it that I wanted to say. I was going to ask you if you know of any requests or possible usage or anyone that has come forward to suggest a use for that parcel A at this time.
Not as of yet, no.
Okay. And I noticed that on a map that I was given by one of the people in the county here, I think his name was Josh. Anyway, the current zoning for the current truck stop at Hastings is I-1, which industrial 1, whatever, I think it's industrial. I think that's what the I stands for. So does that mean that a truck stop of that nature needs that kind of a zoning in order to exist? So you're talking about B2 zoning for parcel A. Does that preclude the construction of such a truck stop because of the other zoning?
Barry, do you want to help us with that?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, the listed uses in B2 are extensive, and some of them I would think would be as or more active than a truck stop. Trucking terminals are an allowed use in a B2. Convenience type of shops or convenience stores or gas stations. So there's a number of different uses that, are in there that are similar, if not even more intensive than that one.
Okay.
And just for the record, as it currently sits, 3/4 of parcel A could be developed that way right now without going through a rezoning process. This rezoning is to extend that parcel A to the south a bit, another probably 200 to 300 feet. But the zoning exists right now for a commercial operation to go into parcel A or portions of parcel A.
Right. I
That
know.
zoning already exists.
Part of it is already Zone B2 as
Yep.
it stands. So we were just curious as to why they're extending the border to the south too. I mean, just to make it more marketable, or is that the reason? Or was there a specific reason why?
That would be more up to the applicant why they're asking for what they're asking for,
Right.
so.
The only other question I had was in parcel B, I noticed it goes all the way to the east past that wetland over there. And I'm assuming that that part of the parcel really can't be used for much at all since it's part of the wetland, wet area out there. So I'm curious why they extended the border all the way across,
Because they
So that-
probably own the property and that's the way things configure.
just so that the line isn't crazy over
Yep.
there, you know? Okay. Okay, so that's my main concern and the concern of most of my neighbors.
All right.
The future use of parcel A. So I hope you guys will take that into account in the future. All right, thank you.
Yep,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Is there anyone else that would like to comment? You want to please give your name for the record?
Johann Mossman, I live up on Lock Lake and received notification for the proposed change here. I have a fairly extensive history with this because I chaired planning and zoning more than a decade ago in Silver Creek, and we had a Flying J truck operation, which was considering putting an operation there at the time, and we had extensive discussions with Virgil about that 148th being a non-compliant intersection under the current law and the law back then. 148th bisects the turn lane onto I-94 pretty much dead center. If you inspect the site, you'll see that. Options that Virgil and the township talked about at the time were closing that road and at the cost to the property owner and or developer to put a road further south, so far enough away from that intersection, that DOT intersection, to comply, that would access all of the properties. At that time, the fire department in Monticello objected to that idea because it created two dead ends where there currently is none. So then the thought was that the road should come off County Road 8, come down basically the line of the southernmost part of parcel A, and then turn north and go up to the existing 148th, and then all of that road up from 148th, where basically the parcel B corner is, all the way up to the intersection would be vacated. And that would alleviate the safety concern of the turn lane being bisected by the road. It would give you the right setback from the interstate access. So there are options there, but I guess one of the concerns I had with our township, and I think the township board had, was we don't want to get into a situation where, as taxpayers, we end up dealing with the road issue after this gets built up. And I think Paul said, you know, they're looking for a fairly, to use his words, a fairly intense use that is going to increase traffic. So that's the number one concern I have, is that we look at the road alignment. I know Virgil's the old, retired person now, and my contacts at MnDOT are still sound on this. The road's going to have to be dealt with at some point if this is going to be an intense use. Secondly, I would just say that on the parcel B, if you inspect, you'll see there's rye planted there now that's not growing because it's had standing water. That happens quite a bit when there's heavy rain. The next property over, which you might know as a log home property, has a drain tile or drain field for their septic sewer that has standing water on it when it rains. So it's really important that, in my opinion, we look at this comprehensively and deal with the storm drain issues and the road issue right up front, so that we don't get in here. And again, I talked to the person who has a purchase agreement for the 27 acres, which is basically parcel B, and then have them need to be compensated for property that's acquired to make the road connection or other issues. So I just think it's better for everyone to do it up front. I know the DeSoto Corporation has all the records, or should have all the records that I had from back in the Flying J project. And I guess my last concern would be that one of the things Flying J considered doing was putting in a treatment facility that could service all of the properties potentially along the lake on the east side of the lake. That would be beneficial to everyone and allow for a lot more dense use in the long term. So I think there are a lot of options here. I think I look at this as a property that's really obviously going to be developed someday for intense use because of where it is. It just needs to be done right, and the first concern is traffic safety in my mind, and the second needs to be storm runoff. So thank you again. I do have two other properties a little further away, about 0.8 of a mile, and I'm concerned that if we end up with basically a truck-oriented businesses in that corner, that'll affect my property values as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else that would like to comment? If there's not anybody else, we'll bring it up here to the board. And how does the board want to proceed?
Mr. Chair, the gentleman that just spoke, the former chair of the Silver Creek Planning Commission.
And I think we have the current one here.
Okay, very well. But in any event, I agree totally with his comments. And as he was speaking, I was looking at that road intersection and looking at the county's requirement that parcel A be accessed on 148th Street, feeding into that non-conforming intersection up there. And I also note, and if I'm reading this aerial correctly, Mr. Chair, 148th and 144th is like a loop, goes right around. Is that correct from you folks out there?
What our map
Yes.
shows.
Okay. Okay, so it looks like we got a lot of people on the lake accessing from 144th and possibly 148th. So I'm thinking, okay, if this is business-oriented property, we're going to have some big, huge trucks coming in out of there, probably on a quite frequent basis. So again, the comments that the gentleman rendered to our board here make sense. A comprehensive overall plan addressing 148th Street where it connects up with County Road 8, the drainage issues, the sewer issues, and I think once the gentleman from Ferran DeSoto comes back up, I'd like to inquire, Mr. Chair, what is the kind of gist of what their idea is, of what is going in there, if they have any idea of a concept plan, something of that nature. So, and the gentleman.
I guess if the applicant would like to come back up and.
All right, and a gentleman that just spoke, here's a golden opportunity to do this right. Let's do it right. Paul, I forgot your last name.
Schreier.
Schreier, Mr. Schreier.
We've been trying to master plan this back to the Flying J days, and I was much younger then, but I was involved in that discussion. Again, we've looked at this, Flying J fell apart in early, I don't know, I guess I'd estimate 2004. I could be dead wrong on that, but I think that timing is somewhere around there. And yes, we were looking at bringing a road in off of 8 to service all this property, and it was pretty unheard of that that type of use would access 148th. And we knew that. Again, we went back to this thinking, evaluating it for residential. The township was not in favor of that. All we're asking for right now is to expand the B2 zoning, again, as part of our master plan. We do have a potential user for parcel B, it's under contract. That is not a particularly intense traffic use in and out of that, is my understanding. But again, I'm not asking for anyone to rubber stamp that today either, right? Those details are going to come by smarter people than me, or at least people who know more about their operation than me. Again, we've had the township tell us, boy, we'd love to see a quick trip on that corner, and my response is, yeah, so would I. But quick trip's not gonna go there, to our knowledge. Again, with all due respect, people are gonna get a lot of chances to take bites of that apple, you know, when proposals come. We're, again, master planning this, hard to predict the future, but we, you know, again, we fall in love with our land pretty good, and we like that corner a lot, the upper left corner, so to speak. And in fact, encourage this user to be farther down so that we could retain that corner for, you know, I suppose something sexier, I suppose is what we're saying. But all due respect, I think I am impressed with the people who have the contract on parcel B. But again, that's kind of the first domino that we're trying to get to fall. And again, there's a lot of work to do before that's approved. All we're really trying to do is configure our land to what
Right.
we think makes sense. Just a little discussion too on the bottom there too. I mean, we needed 300 feet of road frontage to keep an ag res, you know, lot viable down there. I don't know if it's 36 acres, but only about 14 of it's, you know, high ground. So maybe that's going to be a real nice residential lot someday. But
And it could very well provide a buffer to the residences to the south.
it absolutely could. And again, you know, from our standpoint is that's what we actually tried to do. It's probably been 2 years. Went back to the township and said, you know, where do we want this road, right? Because we were kind of bisected on the current zoning between residential and commercial, to the point that we kind of felt neither one of them worked.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'm sure the applicant appreciates some of the comments here from up here, as well as the board and staff, or as well as the public and staff. So perhaps a suggestion would be, I mean, I'm all for the rezoning. It's just that there is in our suggested motion, there is a statement that the county wants access for parcel A to come off 148th Street. And again, I don't believe that intersection.
I'm sorry, is that for A or for parcel B?
Well, parcel B, there's no other alternative. It has to go on 148th.
Yes.
I'm sorry, if I said parcel B, I meant to say parcel A.
Okay, that is news to me, what you were saying.
I think the county, in the suggested motion, where did it go here?
No, that would have been under the townships, or the responses under
Oh.
C.
I'm sorry?
That
Barry?
would have been under C in the staff report. That was the response from the highway department, is that parcels A and B must access on 148th. Parcel C is the only
Okay,
parcel with
okay, yeah.
allowed
I'm
access
sorry,
onto,
there is no,
onto County Road 8.
Yeah, I stand corrected. It was a comment provided by the township that parcel A gain access via 148th. I would suggest that be via County Road 8.
The highway department is the one that specified parcel A cannot access County Road 8. So an access is not going to be going on to County Road 8 for parcel A, based on the highway department's comment. And they're the ones that control access onto that parcel.
Yeah, I understand that, and I guess I just don't understand their thinking on that one, so, due to the substandard intersection at 148th and County Road 8.
And we're not interested in trying to build something that doesn't work, and neither will the users. I mean,
Yeah.
right? So I kind of feel like we get between a rock and a hard place
I
here, you
agree.
know?
Yep. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Barry, is there any reasoning why parcel A cannot access County Road 8?
They didn't specify. I mean, what we got is what you got. And my assumption is going to be site distances from the intersections, or proper distances from the intersection for a commercial access.
Okay.
That's, but there again, I can only assume.
It's over 1,100 feet.
It's a straight shot. I live there.
Yeah.
It's a straight shot. I mean, the whole way. The truck stop's already coming out, and you're looking up onto the overpass. Trucks are coming, and as that parcel comes down, it lowers down, flattens out, and it's a straight shot the whole way down County Road 8. So I'm very confused why the Highway Department would say that and allow parcel C and not parcel A, because it does not belong. Parcel A does not belong going on to 148.
So at this point, in what's being requested, since the subdivision actually isn't part of this request, that's something that can be addressed at the later stage. Right now, what we're looking at is whether or not the commission is going to recommend approval to expand the B2 zoning. This is a bit of a conversation that is somewhat premature, just because this is a concept, and so we always require that they submit concepts with rezoning. There again, it's not that that concept can't change, and I can certainly, once we get to if the commission and the county board approve, we get to the subdivision stage, we can certainly seek a better explanation from the highway department on why, or if there's other alternatives.
Excuse me, I mean, I can kind of see this discussion developing to get that road, they'll allow road on 8, but they got to have it as far south as possible. And again, I don't know that that particularly helps that neighborhood very much and doesn't do a heck of a lot for us, but so I guess what I'm saying is if you approve this rezone, we may be back here to say, well, now we got to go farther down because our road doesn't work.
Yeah, but Mr. Chair, as Barry had just explained,
Yeah.
we are in the infantile stages of this. And
Absolutely.
we're addressing rezoning.
Yep,
right now.
absolutely. I don't.
And we'll have an opportunity at the subdivision stage to maybe inquire from the county highway department further, why the rationale for doing this.
Yeah.
And generally, I know somewhat about highway matters, and generally speaking, whether it's state or county, if there's an alternative access, they do not want any further conflict points, they call them, occurring on their highways. Well, sometimes that has to be tempered a bit. What makes sense? So anyway, long story short, we'll have another opportunity, I believe, to address this road issue.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Dismissed?
No. Is there anyone else here from the board with any questions, concerns?
My only question, or it's more curious, and I know that we've got subdivision coming ahead, but you've got the rezoning in front of us now. You've got somebody under contract now. So we have real world consequences potentially. I don't know what's in your purchase agreement, but if we have a rezoning that allows this purchase to proceed, and then we would go through a subdivision analysis later that monkeys around with the access.
Mr. Chair,
Greg?
Member Malberg, this planning commission has no jurisdiction over CASA 8. You don't get to dictate where the access point is and where it isn't. So I know we're having a lengthy discussion with it, but the discussion shouldn't be, I really think the access should be on CASA 8. It should be, can parcel 8 be safely developed without injury to the neighborhood with an access off of 148th? That's the analysis here.
I guess I would like to comment too, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I'd like to comment that we didn't draw parcel B for this user. This was our concept and we fit him into it. Again, we're trying to master plan too. So, approving this rezoning isn't, I understand fully, is not any indication that the division will be allowed.
In the concept plan, as you drew it on here, was there an assumption that you'd get it off of CASA 8?
Not really. I mean, we talked, way back when about having a shared driveway between A and B up onto 148th, and staff was, again, very informal, but opposed to that concept. I'm just going back to my memory as the resident did that, when we were looking at a big user on the corner, 148th wasn't going to accommodate that kind of traffic coming out of there.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Any other questions, comments, concerns? I guess, like council has pointed out, this is more of a rezoning discussion.
And I know, Mr. Chair, it's good to talk about a lot of these things, but at least we can get a feel of what the residents had to say. And if it is approved, we can take that all into the next phase, if it is approved to be rezoned. That would be my opinion.
Okay. I'm going to allow you to speak, but only for a couple of minutes. If you want to have a seat, there's a gentleman back behind.
Okay.
Public comment was brought back up here, so only a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I don't even need a couple of minutes. I guess my concern with not hashing this out and understanding why Virgil's opinion is different than the current opinion for accessing this property is that if we rezone it, that somehow it becomes a taking when we say, no, we have to shut that road down and we have to acquire different land for a road now. So I think it's better to deal with it now, so we're not dealing with a taking issue. Right now, it's a non-compliant intersection, but that farm equipment doesn't use it very much. If we're talking about, as the gentleman is saying, an intense use, that's gonna change. So it just seems smart to deal with it now, so it doesn't become.
I don't understand the taking issue that you're talking about. If the county decides that they're going to construct a road somewhere else through the property that is different than the way that gets approved through the subdivision process?
I guess I would step back and say, if it's done at the early stage, before the rezoning, it's part of the process, the road is done not at the township's expense, not at the county's expense, but at the owner's expense. And that's a great advantage to doing it upfront.
Understood. I mean, at this stage, though, there's nothing that affects a physical or changes the likelihood of a physical taking happening in any location on this property.
My neighbors.
We're not there yet.
True. And my neighbors and I may petition for that road to be closed at that intersection because it's non-compliant if things.
That's fine.
Well,
It'll be
well, a certain
ironic
way.
if you then turn around and get mad if the county has to effect a taking because they closed a road at your request.
The request will be at MnDOT level, not probably the county level, but.
Fine.
But the point is, let's have that all off. But thank you.
I think we will. It sounds like it's part of the discussion, it's part of what the developer is going through, it's part of what we will be going through subdivision.
I think it would be better to do the road before you rezone it or as part of the rezoning, but thank you. I thought that's kind of where you were going with your concerns a minute ago, but.
Thanks.
I guess before we go too much, is this something, this board, being there's some questions about, would a site inspection be something for the board to look at, or is the board ready to move forward?
Chairman Muller, you know this property well.
I've seen it enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I live in the
You know-
area, yes.
Okay. And from what we've heard from the township, I mean, I guess I'm ready to go forward with recommending we go forward. I don't know.
And that's fine.
Is there anything we can do to prompt a further explanation the next round out of highway? Because we have some very smart road people up here who seem to disagree with what highway
Mr.
is
Chair,
saying.
Member Malberg, we can ask. They can give it to us if they want to, but looking at what I'm looking at, if they were going to improve that, it's either going to be turn lanes, and if turn lanes don't work, then it's going to be a roundabout. And I don't know what they can do with the roundabout, given that that's about 150 feet off my rough measurement from the MinDOT access. I mean, the nice thing would be is if MinDOT would say, do a roundabout and put all four together, but I'm guessing MinDOT does not want to mix their property with county property.
Yeah, and I'm more curious about the access to parcel A, why that's instructed to come off of 148th in light of the commentary about 20 years ago. It was clear that it wasn't a good compliant access point.
That was
I'd just like to
that was two
understand.
highway administrations ago. I don't know what the Finkelstead administration does compared to the Hawkins administration and compared to the Hausman administration.
Right, and presumably they've got some rules under whichever the administration is that they could at least point to say, here, folks, is why we are not open to what would appear to be the appropriate access.
Yep. And highway engineering standards have changed a lot in 20 years. What used to be a flashing red light hanging from a wire is now a roundabout.
And if living out there and knowing how that intersection is, knowing how 148th is, if I was to draw this map, I would have both. I would draw B straight across, and both A and B would be accessed onto County Road 8, and the wetlands in the back portion would be like a common open area for those two lots, and I would take away the ag residential portion. So they both would come onto County Road 8, because even with parcel B going on to 148th Street, the township road, and it's gonna put more pressure onto that township road.
Well, Mr. Chair.
It's a township road on the other side with the truck stop, and the township has had to work at maintaining that with all the heavy traffic in there, and it's extra expense onto the township, but they do maintain it.
Yeah, and to that point, the township's feedback includes a recommendation for approval with a recommendation for a comprehensive plan for a design for wells, sewers, and road off of County Road 8. It sounds to me like that's not going to happen. Which makes me question what the township's view would be if one of the conditions of their recommendations is declared by highway to be false after they've, or wrong, not false, but wrong after they've given the recommendation.
Mr. Chair, Member Malberg, if you're looking for more direction from the township, you could always do a site inspection and remand it back to the township, given the highway department's comments for further input.
I personally think we can still deal with it through the subdivision when it comes, but
I do too.
But the thing is, if you approve it under this way, you're basically putting parcel B onto 148th. There's no way around it.
why? There's no plan approved, it's just a zoning designation that tracks that outline of parcel B on the south side. But, I mean, and that's why I was asking, I mean, I want to make sure we're not locking ourselves into an access on parcel B off of 148th tonight. I don't think we're doing that, given what we're extending on the rezoning is just now sort of a funny shaped area if you eliminate the common boundary line between A and B there.
Okay, as long as we're not locking ourselves into it, that's a different story.
I agree, and that's why I started to pry a little bit into the purchase agreement status, right? There's real world consequences that can happen with a zoning change, and then somebody gets their legs cut out from under them when the subdivision doesn't go through matching what they saw in their concept plan and what they bought.
Okay. Chris, did you have something you wanted to add?
Chris Klein to Silver Creek. I'm actually on the planning and zoning board there now. The preliminary questions came in before the regular township supervisors. It had to do with traffic in that intersection and also the structural capabilities of the road. The board that I recall never had an issue with the proposed plan of Outlot B accessing 148th. The questions were more around the structural integrity of the road and also that intersection. I don't know if that helps or makes a difference at this point with your decision tonight or not. At some point, yeah, if there's a master plan for that, maybe in the future, Outlot A will have several lots divided up amongst it. And some type of road would have to be between A and B and coming down into C or something onto County Road 8. At which point maybe that would restrict or dead end 148th Street. But that doesn't have anything to do with your request tonight, and maybe it helped, maybe it didn't.
Okay. It did. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments up here?
Mr. Chair, a comment you had made previous here about adding more traffic to County Road 8. It's going to end up there anyway.
Oh, I agree.
Somewhere.
148th is what I was talking about, adding more traffic to. County Road 8 is a county road.
Right.
And it's a 10-ton road.
Okay.
So the traffic should be on County Road 8.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm really in favor of this corner being rezoned to business B2. However, if we're hogtied by some other issue, the issue being access only being on 148th, does that hogtie us then?
No, not necessarily, because it is a public road. Even the township is a public road.
Yeah, I understand that, but
And what's before us is the proposed additions of B2
with the county's comment.
with the county's comment. So a lot of that, like other board members have said, will come in the development stage of this. So we are just looking at rezoning.
All right.
Is somebody ready to make a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Dan?
I'd like to recommend approval of the County Board of Commissioners to rezone that portion of PID 216-100, 212-300 as indicated on the submitted plan from AR Agricultural Residential to B2 General Business because it finds the properties aligned with goals and policies of the Northeast Quadrant Land Use Plan.
I have a motion. Do I
It's
have a second?
northwest. Quick correction, it is the northwest quadrant.
Oh.
Sorry.
Yeah, I should have known that.
Copy
I
and
know that's
paste,
not
copy
the
and
east
paste.
part of the county.
Copy and paste, just, it's terrible.
Northwest Quadrant Use Plan.
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any other discussion? There's no other discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same way. Motion carries. Thank you. Number 7 on the agenda tonight is Charles Jermeau. You want to come up and give your name for the record, please, and we will get started.
Name is Charles Derma.
Right, Barry, when you are ready.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this property should be familiar to the board. It went through a rezoning in 2023 to rezone the property to R2, which is a 2.5 acre lot minimum. This is the follow-up to that, which would be the subdivision request, and also a request to waive the plating requirements. Subdivision ordinance requires plating for all lots less than 5 acres in size. In this case, one of the lots would be 2.68 acres, with the other lot being 6.24. Again, both lots would meet the minimum size requirements for this district. It's just the determination on the plating and then the approval of the subdivision. We did receive approval from Maple Lake Township. It says we didn't have it here, but I have gotten it since then. We got it at about 7 o'clock. So I do have a copy of that here, and they just indicated that allowed the split to the 2.5 acres. And no other comments.
All right, thank you. Is there anything you would like to add?
No, sir.
All right, is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this?
Oh, sorry, Mr. Chairman, I did miss. The Highway Department did specify that shared access,
Okay, thank you.
which was known at the rezoning stage of this.
Is there anyone from the public? The gal there in the back, if you want to have a seat. The gal there in the back, if you want to come up and give your name for the record, please.
Name Carol Habel. I have the property just to the east of this rezoning, and my question is, how many more lots of the 2.5 can they do in and subdivide it? And I understand the highway, they would share the existing driveway for that property coming off of 106. Is that correct?
Yeah, what they did is, there were a couple of things discussed in the rezoning. One of those was the original concept plan had a different layout than this. It was pretty much 2 5-acre parcels where the driveway would have had to move to the east. The property has sold. Mr. Jermu now owns it, and he's requesting the existing driveway access remain in place, move the lot line to the west versus moving the driveway to the east, and then creating the lot that way to get the 2.5 acres. As far as additional, current zoning would not allow any further divisions of either of these 2 parcels. The parcel B has just over the minimum road frontage. There isn't enough to divide that any further, and parcel A doesn't have enough acreage to divide it any further based on zoning.
Okay, and then there would be no other rezoning that could change that?
Well, we do have other zoning districts. The issue would be those would then create the need for another access, which is not going to be granted here.
Okay.
And there again, never in zoning terms, we never say never. I'm not saying it's absolutely never going to be a possibility. Things change over time. I can't say never, but according to our current rules, it is extremely unlikely.
I've heard that comment before.
All right, is there anyone else that would like to comment on this matter? If not, you can come back up if you like, the applicant.
Mr. Chair, Barry, what did the township respond?
They approved.
They approved it.
Yes, they approved.
Okay.
Is there any other comments here? Are we ready for a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve a conditional use permit for a 2-lot subdivision and waiver of the platting requirements in accord with the survey completed by Otto Associates dated March 26, 2024. Project number 23-0400 with the following conditions. 1, parcels A and B to have a shared access location along the common property line. 2, reciprocal easements for the extent of the shared access must be recorded at or before the time of sale. 3, all Wright County feedlot ordinance requirements and standards must be followed.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? There's no other discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same way. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 8 is Mike Paschke. One more.
Mike Paschke.
All right, Barry, when you're ready.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is a kind of a 2-part request, so this applicant is both number 8 and number 9. The first portion, the item number 8 would be to amend a couple of conditions from the 2007 CUP approval for the subdivision. That subdivision required that the lots maintain both a primary and alternate septic site. that the lots have no more than 50% impervious surface coverage and have no more than one primary building. Those are a couple of different conditions that cover that in that original CUP for the subdivision. This request is to allow a change that would result in only one primary septic site being available for the property. It would also have impervious surface that may exceed 50% and would have a second primary structure on the one parcel. One thing of note is that in reviewing this, it seems like the enforcement of that particular condition, the one primary structure, has been fairly lax throughout the years since the development occurred. We do, based on aerial, see a number of parcels out there with more than one, which would appear to be primary structures. However, the other two, the septic sites and the impervious, have been fairly strictly adhered to. We did receive approval from the township. They have indicated they don't have any issues with the request. Great River Energy wrote a letter to the applicant approving the plans to place a septic within their easement on the property, and then we did not get any other comments.
Where is the impervious projected at?
So that's the impervious as it's being projected, so 49.8.
Okay.
Whether or not that'll remain that way, that's one of the reasons why we did throw that in there.
Thank you. Is there anything you'd like to add?
I guess we were going for just to raise the impervious surface a little bit. If we got it up, the impervious coverage, we could add another driveway, pending Rockford Township's approval of another culvert and driveway for that building.
What would you be projecting then your impervious would be at?
That I do not know. I guess I would have to contact Meyer Rolling to add more impervious surface on a new site plan.
Is there any other questions here before I go to the public? Is there anyone from the public here that would like to comment? Anyone here from the public? I guess we'll bring it back up here. Any concerns here?
Mr.
Questions?
Chair, I'm sorry I didn't catch your, Mike Paschke, that's right, okay. Mr. Paschke, did you just say that you would have plans for possibly owning or opening up a third driveway? You have two right now,
We have two,
which consist of impervious surface.
correct.
And you would want to add more impervious surface, pushing that 50% number.
If, upon the approval of, yes, raising the impervious surface of our property. If that gets raised, then we would see if we could add a third driveway.
But you're already at 50% without, roughly 50% without the addition of a third driveway. Is that
Correct.
Correct.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other concerns? Questions?
I have a question from like a precedential standpoint where we've allowed the impervious surface to exceed the 50%. Have we typically assigned some other percent as the new cap, or just eliminating? It's either it would just fall back to performance standards, or what do you recommend on that, Barry?
Well, we don't have any that have requested it.
Not in this or anywhere else.
Not in this industrial subdivision is one that has that. It's the only one I'm aware of that has that condition. In industrial properties, in general, it's 50% building, not 15% impervious. However, This particular subdivision, I would have to go back to '07 when it was done, but it was likely done without the actual realization that a portion of it is actually in shoreland. So looking back through the minutes, I'm pretty certain that the impervious portion was added because there is shoreland area within this subdivision. Based now off of the discussions we've had with the DNR, this likely wouldn't have been allowed to be industrial within that shoreland district. And then you could still maintain your 50% building not impervious. So this is the only development I'm aware of that's industrial that also has a 50% impervious.
Thank you, Barry.
And Mr. Paschke also owns a lot across the street that's used for storage. And that was actually one of the things we worked out with him, is that in his CUP for that storage lot, exterior storage lot, was that it maintained the 50% impervious.
And what I will tell you on the Board of Adjustments, when we get dealing with impervious, you're allowed 25% on lakes and different lots. And we adhered to that very well, trying not to set a precedence. And if people are over it, there's plenty of people that are over it on these lakes, and they come in needing a variance, and many times we make them reduce, take away buildings, take away patios, somehow to get that impervious as close to 25% or 25% and under as possible. On that board, we try very hard to adhere to what the standard is. Any other comments? Ken?
Mr. Paschke, if you were denied down the road, that third driveway, would that be something that you could work around with the existing two entrances?
Yes, we could.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Or does the board want to proceed? Someone willing to put a motion forward to work on?
So is there a proposed building to go in here too?
That is what's on the screen now. You
That's
can
it,
see.
yeah.
So that the proposed building is 4,000 square feet. About the southern half of it would be over the top of where the existing septic system is, and so that's why they have the new rock bed located south of the building. That existing system was installed in 2015.
So what we're dealing right now is just with the driveway part of it, correct?
No, we're dealing with the conditions of the conditional use permit for the subdivision, which has specific conditions related to septic systems, impervious surface, and buildings.
Building is next.
So the building.
It's the next item on the agenda.
Right, so the impervious surface part of it, right now, we're right at 50%, but we don't know how much he wants to go over. Right?
Or if we'll allow him to go over.
Yeah.
I mean, he can build a building right now with the building he's proposing and stuff, he's within the 50%.
With the building he's proposing.
49.8.
Yeah, with what he's proposing, he's at 49.8.
Okay,
And if we allow him to go over, you would like to add an extra driveway and
right.
whatever else we allow. Ken?
Mr. Chair, Barry, so the current impervious surface calculation takes in the existing building, the existing driveways or pavements. I don't know, is that gravel or is that bituminous?
It's pavement,
Pavement.
around the existing building.
Yes, okay. Okay, so in the calculations, we got the existing building, the existing pavement, the existing driveways, and in addition to that, we have the proposed 4,000 square foot building and proposed pavement. I don't know how much that is, but all those four elements add up to your 50%, or roughly 50% currently? Yes?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can see here, here it says proposed pavement, so this would be proposed pavement area.
Right, okay.
Mike, is this gravel here?
It is currently, yes.
Okay, and is that being parked on?
There's some cars and trailers stuff.
So as part of that, would that remain gravel? Would it still be parked on? Would it be turned to grass? Because as part of the condition for the impervious, it includes any gravel areas that are used for parking. And I don't see that in the calculation. So even with this, if that remained, it would likely be over the 50%.
With all the current gravel and everything, I believe he took that into consideration in between the buildings, that it's currently gravel.
He has it on there and it looks like it's gravel, but I don't see it in the approximate impervious surface areas as part of that. I see concrete pads, bituminous pavement, concrete and building, but I don't see any designation of gravel.
Wouldn't that area go away if the building's gonna take up a bunch of that area if this all gets approved? So I think what they probably did was eliminate that from the calculation, because this is forward-looking.
I'm certainly could be. But that was my question, is this gonna remain gravel and parked on, or is it going to be converted to grass or some other type of what would now be considered a non-impervious surface or a pervious surface?
Wouldn't be enough to offset the driveway if there's a driveway going to be added.
No, but the question is more, is it gonna be more than 0.2%? Which I don't know.
To me, if the percentage of impervious matters, I think we would ask for the calculations to be done and we'd kick this to the next meeting.
I know what we would ask for is kick it to the next meeting and have them try to reduce either current pavement, any way to stay within, for third driveway, try to reduce it down and stay within the 50%.
And we're fine with staying at the 50%. I guess it was just what Barry and I had talked about. If we could amend that condition for, to make the parking lot a little bit bigger and still stay under whatever we got the percentage moved to. At the 49.8% hardcover, what it is proposed currently, we're fine with that.
Okay. Well, that being said, then we can maybe continue to go forward.
One comment, Mr. Chair, for the applicant.
Yep.
So I always try to look to see what comments the township gives, and there's nothing. It just says they approved. I mean, can you shed any light as to what problems or what they were dealing with when you went to the township?
I think they were more, in the minutes, they were more concerned with what our neighbors were doing.
Okay,
They talked more about that than what we were doing. They all just looked at our site plan, this site plan, and said it looked good.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
What were your neighbors up to?
And, Mr. Chair,
Ken.
now Barry, also, there would be no area then allowed for an alternate or a second septic site, given this proposal?
Correct.
What about the other sites in this subdivision? Or how are they doing on the alternate septic?
I have
issue?
not done that evaluation to that depth. As far as I know, they all maintain it. I'm going to put my faith in the previous administrators and staff to have reviewed that.
But still, we'd be rendering this property without a secondary site available.
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other comments, concerns, or is somebody ready for a motion?
I have one question.
Janice?
I guess I don't understand this, that your septic system now is on an easement?
The proposed septic system,
Yeah, it would be on an easement?
correct.
And who owns that easement? Do you own that easement, or is it the county that owns the easement, or?
It's Great River Energy. It's there's high voltage lines going through the very south end of our property.
Okay,
If you look at in the cul-de-sac, there's,
These overhead lines.
they're not, the proposed mound system is not going to be necessarily under the lines. It's within their 100-foot their repair easement, or however she referred to it.
okay.
But they okayed it.
And that's a mound system?
Correct.
That's a mound system?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Somebody prepared for a motion?
Can I just make one comment? I had a heck of a time finding this in Beacon, and the actual location is not 427, it's 4287.
Good catch, Jeannie.
Somebody stands corrected then.
That's right. In 2 spots, Barry.
Twice tonight.
All right, is somebody prepared for a motion?
The motion would be, if we're past the impervious surface issue, then the motion would be an amendment on the septic. And which condition is that, Barry?
Let me pull it.
Is it condition number 4? In all cases, development proposals must include adequate room set aside for a primary and secondary sewage treatment site. So this motion, if it were made, would simply be an amendment of condition number 4 of the CUP as it relates to this parcel, so that this parcel need not comply with, or the requirement for a secondary sewage treatment site, period. That's it.
Then amending 6 to allow the second building, correct, Barry?
Yes, yeah, that is one. I have it
That-
saved and I
that's
put
the
it in
next-
printed it and put it in the wrong.
Agenda item though, right?
Yeah.
Well, this one, the agenda item here is amend conditions 4 and 6.
Right.
The next agenda item is to allow a use within
Oh,
the new structure.
thank you.
So we first have to approve the structure, and then we can allow something to go into it.
Yeah, in order to approve the expansion that's gonna be requested, we had to amend the conditions. So that's why they're separated into 2 pieces. And so it would be, number 4,
Would be to allow the building consistent with the plans and narrative on file.
yes.
Okay. Can I ask a question before I make the motion?
Yes.
Barry, is there a parade of horribles about not having a secondary sewer site for a non-intense, I'm assuming, user of a septic mound?
You know, with septic systems nowadays, there's probably less concern of it. In this case, I don't know, with your current operation, do you have flammable waste separators that are separate from your septic?
Correct.
Okay, and so those will remain separate, that your floor drains and all that kind of stuff go into for your flammable waste separator.
Yep.
So
And
this septic is just for, I would assume, bathroom or,
just the bathroom.
okay.
There's no showers, it's just, and there's only currently 3 of us working in the building.
I mean, in the end, we've seen these types of operations operate on holding tanks. You know, so it's not that it's,
Right.
but it is an ordinance requirement, and it's in all of our subdivisions. Anytime property is subdivided, for whether it's residential or commercial, that's something that we have in there for all of those.
Okay. Thanks. I'm prepared to make a motion if there's not
Mr.
further
Chair.
questions.
Mr. Chair, I have a question for Mr. Paschke.
Yep.
Do you have floor drains?
Correct.
You wash cars too and stuff, so you'd have, what, 3 employees using a bathroom, probably a sink and a lunch area,
Yep,
and floor drains?
correct.
Okay. And the design has been completed for that septic system? Because it's the only one you're ever going to have there, because there's no room for another one,
Yep,
from what I read.
yep.
That's my concern. My concern are two. The septic system being the one and only area that's left. The pushing the limit on the impervious surface. And somehow, maybe in our motion, we can take those 2 items into consideration. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
I have one other comment that I would like to make.
Janice?
I'm a little familiar with septic systems and installation of them. And one of the things that I know is there's a new technology now that they can put on septic systems, a mound system, as a matter of fact, that will read how much waste has gone into that septic system and will actually send an alert to the owner that it's time to do the pumping now. So I'm not as worried about the septic system of the olden days because I know the technology is such now that there's lights that flash and you'll see it and you'll know that it's time to pump your septic, even if you think you haven't used it that much. Maybe somebody else did, you know.
Yep.
But you will get an alarm. So I think that's one of the safety things that's evolved now with the advancement of the septic sewer mound systems. So I'll just put that out.
We have alarms on our current septic systems
Yes.
that are inside the building,
Right.
so.
Pat?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to amend condition number 4 of the existing CUP to eliminate the requirement for a secondary sewage treatment site on this property, and to amend condition number 6 of the CUP for this property to allow for a second principal building consistent with the plans and narrative on file.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, could we put a condition on there, or would we consider putting a condition on there that they do not exceed 50% impervious surface?
That condition exists and we're not changing it, is
Yeah.
my understanding.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same way. Motion carries. And that leads us right into the building portion of it. Barry, do you want to give us an overview on that?
Yep, well, this plan is the site plan that I'm going to show you here in a minute, so it's the same one. We do have building plans for the structure. This particular request is for just that portion related to coal storage for the existing use on the property. Township approves, they sent in the same response for both, so.
Okay. Is there anything you want to add to it?
No.
Is there anyone from the public that would have a comment on this? If there's no one from the public, we'll bring it back up here.
Mr. Chair, if I could just ask the applicant a quick question here. The proposed motion as stated by Barry is to convert your current existing CUP for an auto body repair, which was granted in 2014, into an interim use permit. I assume you're good with that? You consent to that change over from a CUP to an IUP so you can expand? Or potentially expand? I don't know what they're going to do, but does that make sense?
I guess I don't really understand what a interim.
Interim means that it would expire upon sale of the property, and the new buyer would have to come here. and
Oh, gotcha.
Get the get the same permit all over again.
Okay.
Go through the same process you are right now.
Okay. Yep, I understand that.
And you're good with that? You're
Yes.
good with that conversion?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do we have any comments, questions? Is somebody ready to make a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the conversion of the existing CUP for an auto body repair shop granted in 2014 into an interim use permit and expand the business with a new 40 by 100 commercial building for heated storage in association with the existing use based on the plans and narrative on file and discussion of this hearing with the following conditions. Number one, proper permits be obtained. All inspections completed for the building and septic system prior to use. 2, all hazardous waste must be disposed of properly, separate from the on-site septic system. 3, use of the proposed building is limited to having a direct correlation to the existing use on the property. Any change in use will require a new interim use permit. 4, this permit shall expire upon transfer of the property, termination of any lease agreement, or change in business ownership or operation.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Do I have any other discussion? There's no other discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same way. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's take a break.
We'll take a 5-minute chairman's break before we continue on.
We're getting close.
If it's questionable, just go.
All right, we'll bring the meeting back to order. And number 10 is Chris Murphy. You want to come up, give your name for the record, please, and we will continue on.
Chris Murphy.
All right, thank you. Barry, when you are ready.
Just 1 second, Mr. Chairman, I wanted to pull just information here. I know it's in here. Okay, Mr. Chairman, the property's a 0.78 acre R1 lot on West Lake Sylvia on Quinn Avenue. The request is for a land alteration in excess of 50 cubic yards to replace existing retaining walls and do some earthwork regarding the existing development of the property and make improvements. The plan is to reduce some of the impervious areas to bring it down underneath the 25%, as well as the complete landscaping plan for the shoreland area. The property is classified as a bluff in the areas where this work is going to be done, but there is a picture that is provided that I'll display that shows that although the elevation from top to bottom is a bluff, most of it has already been disturbed, and a lot of the work here involves the replacement of existing retaining walls with new rock retaining walls, taking out other older materials and just kind of revamping the entire kind of look of the property. As you can see by this plan here, total in imported material, about 377 yards, total cut of about 69 yards. So we did get an original response from the township that indicated they approved, and they did email us today indicating that they didn't actually look at this as a land alteration. They looked at it more as a variance for retaining walls. And so they did contact the property owner or the contractor, I'm not sure which, based on their email, and asked them to come to June. Nobody came to the June meeting, so they kicked off their further review of it until July. As mentioned, here's a plan with the impervious surface removal and their water management plan, which includes a rain garden to the, I believe that's the west side of the lot or south side. And then pictures of the existing conditions as well as a rendering of proposed conditions.
Barry, on the township response, they approved it to begin with, and
Yes.
I guess that's a little confusing for them to approve it first, and then, because you have to move this or however, landscaping.
I'm just giving you what the township gave me. And so in your packets, you should have the original response, which was from May 22nd, that included the minutes. And their motion was to approve a 65-inch retaining wall, 14 feet from the OHW, and the 72-inch retaining wall due to current wall foundation is failing. The walls are an improvement, and the impervious surface is being brought to 24.9%. That was their motion from their original meeting, which was before they actually got the response form, which indicates it's for a conditional use permit for a land alteration.
Okay, thank you.
And then their further response I included in, which was later today. When they received the notice for the June 6th appearance before the board, I saw he was requesting a conditional use permit for a land alteration to remove or to exceed 50 cubic yards of material. We hadn't talked about this at the May meeting, so I called and asked someone to come to our meeting. No one was present at the June meeting, so we did not act on the land alteration request. She said, spoke with someone from Backyard Reflections yesterday and explained I would be submitting the minutes of the meeting and letting the board know we did not act on the CUP for land alteration.
Okay.
This is one of the situations that comes up, you know, because of dates of township meetings. Sometimes they go to the township before we've sent our notice, and exactly what's getting applied for isn't always, what's explained at the meeting isn't always exactly how our notices explain stuff out. And so I mean, I can understand where there's some miscommunication with it. In the end, it's up to you to do with it what you want to. I'm just relaying the information that I've got from the township.
Okay, that makes sense. So basically, you told them verbally, go see the township, and then after they went to see the township, then they got the paperwork about it. Okay.
And Backyard Reflections just knows to go. They've done a number of different projects, both before this board and the Board of Adjustment. So they know enough to go to the township, so they do. And they think ahead, they get on the agenda and they go sometimes before they even submit their application to us. So we haven't had anything written by the time, they went to the township, which kudos. We often have applicants that don't get to the township and they're trying to be proactive and get there. Unfortunately, this kind of situation does happen. This isn't the first one of these I've seen.
Right, is there anything you would like to add?
Yeah, with that, there is a typo on our plan for the yardage coming in. Should be 277, not 377 cubic yards.
Okay.
And then also, at the Southside Township meeting, I did talk to him, because I have engineered plans for the boulder retaining walls to be above 48 inches. And we spent much of that time talking about how the walls are engineered and how they're going to be constructed, and materials that I have coming in to them, the backfill materials, the compaction rates, all of that. The plan, it shows the yardage moving. I didn't actually say that we were hauling in that much, I guess, out loud, but we did talk about, proposed wall locations to what's existing now, and ultimately what it looks like in the design. So I got that voice message from Carmen at Southside on Monday, saying that they had me on the docket for Tuesday night's meeting for a conditional use permit. And I was like, so I called her, did not get a response, missed her call on Tuesday. And I just thought that she double booked it because I had already done the meeting with them. And she didn't have a job name or anything called out in the voicemail, but talked to her yesterday morning, day late for their meeting. So.
I guess, is there anything else you can talk us through as to what the project consists, how you're gonna get the material down to the lake or in front of the lake?
Yep.
Are you going to protect,
So on one of the next pages, there is a water management plan here showing the blue lines are, I'd say, a little bit blended in, but we will have a floating silt fence out in the water that's going to basically protect or keep sediment. If sediment were to make it that far, it's going to protect that area just due to the close proximity of it. Right now, there are concrete steps that go basically right to the water's edge that we are proposing to remove and reinforce with some riprap and ultimately pull as much of the hardscapes back from the OHW as possible. With the boathouse there is a retaining wall that holds up the walkway to access the door. That will be a section that's still within the 10-foot setback of the OHW, but there's just not enough room to get beyond it. Where the existing walls, as they sit now, are in that setback area, we're proposing to pull them out of the setback area. I think current impervious surface of the property sits at 29 and some change % right now. We've got it lowered to be in compliance with the 25%. And ultimately the patio space, which is a major part of impervious and runoff, we're pulling that significantly back from the lake's edge, showing, right now it sits within the 10-foot setback, the front edge does, of OHW, and we're drawing that back to be in line and a little bit behind the line of the main part of the house.
So the one question, the green there, what is that? Is that a sand beach or is that
On the
grass?
bottom?
Yep.
Grass.
Lakeside.
That's a short fescue.
Okay. I was just curious because I didn't see necessarily a text box showing to it, and I don't see a legend, so I was just curious what that was.
Okay.
And then where is it? The fuchsia color or pinkish, that's all impervious that's getting removed, and then the blue is impervious that's being added.
Correct. And they do overlap. Some with the runoff from the driveway and the property, further up the hill. There's no really good way to manage it. The rain garden is basically as max as I could to get it. I do have a retaining wall going in front to help build some height and allow more depth for it, to capture as much of the runoff as possible. But ultimately, it's a really unique build site the way it's all, I'd say, constructed 100 years ago or whenever.
So that rain garden is really the primary effect there is to fix a situation that already exists.
Correct.
Okay. Is there any questions from here?
I don't have any questions. I don't know how we act without getting the township's chance to look at it. It's a steep slope on Sylvia. We were there at the beginning of the meeting, and sounds like they want to see it again.
I think they were aware of the slope, if I remember right. But it was the material being brought in, right?
Right. That was the one thing that we didn't actually talk about out loud was the amount of material. And my material calculations, the yardages, they account for every granite step or every boulder. It's not just soils. So the boulder quantity is converted into yards here. The step quantity is converted into yards.
It all looks fine to me. I just don't know how we give a consistent message back to the township if, on the one hand, we defer to them and then we turn around and plan looks good, but we're going to turn around and take the decision that they are apparently wanting to make out of their hands. I have trouble seeing the consistency in that.
Did the township see this plan that we're looking at?
Yep. It's exactly what I submitted with them, and only this one, the engineered specs aren't in the attachments with this I've seen online, but I had all the, signed engineered plans for how the walls would be constructed and the backfill material needed for them.
I guess to answer your question, if they have seen this plan, there's going to be material moved. It just wasn't talked about. I know where you're coming from, but I guess I look at it.
Did they see this?
They've
Yep.
seen,
And
they've seen the plan. So, and if they approve the plan, to make the plan happen, we have to move a couple hundred yards of dirt. And to send it back there and delay this for a month, I don't,
And they had their time, the 3 weeks in advance to look at it. Nothing changed on this. Nothing changed on any of the plans.
yeah.
Mr. Chair,
I know where you're coming from also. They've asked it to be returned, so. Janice?
Mr. Chair, if I recall correctly, Barry, can you read their comment that they didn't realize that it was a conditional use permit? Is that what their reason was?
Yes. When I received notice for the June 6th appearance before the board, I saw that he was requesting a conditional use permit for land alteration to exceed 50 cubic yards of material. We hadn't talked about this at the May meeting, so I called and asked someone to come to our meeting. No one was present. Spoke with someone from Backyard Reflections yesterday and explained I would be submitting the minutes of the meeting and letting the board know we did not act on the CUP for land alteration.
I think we gotta send it back to them.
I think we should just, it was a thing where he went ahead and did this without having the county approval in his hands either. And so I think the township approval in his hands. And I think we owe the township the courtesy of delaying it. I really do. And so I would make a motion that we,
Well, no, we're not ready for that. I have not opened this up to the public yet.
okay.
So, Mr. Chair, they did approve the plans. They saw the plans and that, they did approve it.
But they didn't know that it was.
They
what-
didn't
what
approve,
they're-
they didn't approve the conditional use permit
Yes,
for the land alteration,
yes.
but they approved the plans.
Oh, come on.
Jan, I've been on a town board for 23 years. I've been through this before. And when you see plans and you approve them,
What, I guess my question would be, what kind of permit, what other kind of permit would have it been under with the engineering of the walls? And doesn't that all fall under this style of permit with tall walls and cubic yards being moved?
Actually, there is nothing needed from the township for the wall itself. That's a building permit requirement. The building official would require the engineering for the wall. It's an administrative permit. There's nothing in our ordinance that prohibits a 10-foot height retaining wall if the proper engineering is provided. It doesn't require a public hearing. The portion that requires a public hearing is the movement of earth more than 10 or 50 cubic yards in the shoreline area. So that's where it is. And there again, the unfortunate thing is always timing. You know, our timing schedule and the township's timing schedules don't always work very well together, and there is no way for us to improve that. We have to have meetings at specific times. The township has theirs at specific times. This has happened before where the township makes a motion based upon an understanding on what was discussed at their meeting. They don't always have our information in front of them when they do that. There's been occasions where people have gone to the township 2 months before they even apply to us. And once we send the notice, the township sends it back, attaches minutes, and we go forward. This one is one of those where it got a little bit sideways apparently in the discussion at the township level, and the township is saying we didn't approve the CUP, we only approved a variance, of which actually variances weren't needed because the retaining walls don't have a setback from the lake either. And so the two things they referenced in their minutes aren't actually things that we would require variances for. But there again, that's the difference between, you know, the county level, us dealing with these ordinances every day, and the township not. And and that's not a slight on the township. It's just a fact.
Okay. So, that being said, is there anyone in the public that would like to comment on this? Anyone in the public? Now, we'll bring it back up here. How does the board want to proceed?
I'd like to hear from Dan a little bit more about, I don't want to send it back and have that be a waste of time, but I'm also trying to interpret emails and the way it's being told to us, and we know that Sylvia's a sensitive resource for the township.
and to be honest with you, this is Southside Township, correct?
Right.
And Southside Township looks at quite a few of these. I mean, we've had them up here and they've gone through Southside Township. But the first thing I look at in this plan is total out 69 yards, total ins 377 yards. I mean, I know there's material being brought in. Sitting on the town board, I'd look at that and say, okay, that's what you're bringing in. I wouldn't have known it required a conditional use permit until I got the notice from the county. That I wouldn't have known, but I would have known the material being moved. As a town board member, it's such a simple thing to look at right here. It's not hidden. It's very bold.
And is this, maybe people know Sylvia better than I do. This sort of project, it seems to me the few times we've been in there, people have all sorts of intense landscaping projects on that lake.
Mm-hmm.
It's 277 yards of fill in, including boulders. Take the boulders out and you're at under 200 yards of fill being brought in?
Correct.
I don't know, I'm stuck between, we ought to make sure that we, as a rule, get very, very clear instructions from them that we can either listen to or disregard, and approving this because it looks like a fine plan.
And I get that too, hearing from the township. I mean, I really appreciate that as a township member, and I'm just kind of understanding the history of the contractor and what he does, and he's very, very good at what he does, and has always been forthright with both the township and the county, notifying them of that. It's unfortunate they didn't have that form from the county saying that it required a conditional use permit. That's the unfortunate part of it. So,
Mr. Chair,
Janice?
I would like to respond to that. May I speak to
Yep.
Dan? I understand what you're saying, Dan, and it's logical, but you also have to consider that there's been a lot of things that have happened with this gentleman here going ahead and doing things that they didn't understand were going to be done at that other place. And that also, he
What's this
said
referring to?
himself that
What-
he said himself that he didn't make reference to the fact that he was going to bring in fill. And when they probably read that, they thought, oh, how much fill is this that's going to be brought in? And they didn't know the answer to that. And so I just, I think that they're a little burned.
I did talk about
Past practice, you mean?
materials that were coming in, because there's very specific materials that the walls need to be
Yes.
backfilled. Well, I just never actually said the amount of, we never brought up the amount of yardage. It was,
Yes, yes. And I'm sure that's probably, could be what they're thinking about, is maybe you're planning to bring in more than the 277.
I guess what we've got going on right now is a misunderstanding between the county and the township. So it's a matter of how this board wants to handle. The township has asked for it to be continued and to be delayed. Basically, it's gonna delay you for a month, I guess. And we can't take those things under consideration. So it's a matter of how this board wants to handle it. If they wanna continue it and kick it back to the township, or if we want to approve what's being presented to us tonight. That is the decision here in the board, so.
Chairman, I have a question to Commissioner Bravender. So when you're in a township, you get all the same information that we have right here, right? Did they get all this information?
not always,
No.
no.
Very
Like
vague.
if somebody comes to us with, say they want to build a house, and they might have a sketch or on a plat where they want to build it, but then they'll come to the county, and the county would require more information before they even come to us as a board, the planning commission. And so then it would have more information to it. Now, that would be if somebody came with a company like Backyard Reflections, is say you were gonna put up a house and do some landscaping, and Backyard Reflections put a plan together for you, as to how to do a landscaping plan, then that would be the same thing probably they would present to Barry. And that's what this is.
And so,
So it depends on what the issue is.
so
yeah.
Barry, do you think the township got all this information? This plan, everything that we're seeing, this whole map with all the proposed impervious removal with the rain, whatever,
Garden.
the rain garden, do you think they saw this?
I really can't say. I don't know. I don't know what the contractor brought there. Contractor saying he brought these same plans there. All I can answer to is what we tell applicants when they're at our counter, because a lot of them will ask us, well, what is the township going to want to see? And I say, well, call and ask them, because some townships, they want to see as much as we have, some may not. It's up to the township what they want to see. We recommend they bring to the township exactly what they submitted to us. There again, in cases where they've already went to the township before they brought their stuff to us. I don't know what was brought to the township, what was discussed with the township. There's no way for me to know that.
So that won't, this would not, so we have no documentation that they even saw this. When they send in the thing, they don't say, we saw the original plans. What was the,
Well, what I would say is if I got that type of response, I would ask the township, well, do you have copies of exactly what they submitted? Because there again, I don't know if the contractor took that back, made revisions to it, and then brought it to me. I don't know. There's no way for me to judge that.
okay.
So we take everything at face value on what the township says they approve. And, you know, with the assumption that they saw the same stuff that we have.
Because
Unless
I do-
we see something specific in what they tell us that's different than what we're seeing on paper when we get the application. Which I will say I have seen that once or twice, but it doesn't happen often.
Because as a commissioner on this board, I do appreciate that all this was done in a quick manner. That they listened to what you said, they went to the township. The township could have, before putting it on the agenda, called you and said, hey, just to be sure, you know, we want to make sure, is this what it is? I mean, I don't know, I appreciate that part, but I do appreciate, I'd like to know what the townships have to say. I don't know.
And I started with submitting these plans to Scott Decker before I even went to the township, trying to figure out what type of permit I was in need of. And at that time, it was, with the tall walls, you're gonna need engineering plans. So then I stopped, I submitted our plans to an engineer, had the walls engineered, got them documents back, and then that's when we applied for, onto the meetings for Southside.
And yeah, and there is documentation in there about the walls. That's what they discussed at the meeting, at the township meeting.
Those, I mean, ultimately it was walls, but it was this
Retaining walls.
plan, it was our design and site photos, like just explaining where all the new wall locations are going and the setbacks from OHW, and then also all the impervious removal that's taken place and what's in its place right now, what is in them red boxes right now. So the whole site plan was talked about, this exact plan. They talked, what's all the red locations right now along all the driveway, and it's side parking, and there's a pickleball court, and there's a pad in front of a shed, you know, all of that was discussed.
Do you remember what date the township meeting was? They didn't put that on any of their documentation. I know when I received it, but I don't know when the township meeting was.
Not right offhand.
Okay.
I feel like the first township one is different than the one that we're reading now.
Yeah, they submitted the response form twice. Once on May 22nd and then again on June 6th this
Can
morning.
you read that one? Because I can't find it.
The May 22nd?
Yeah, I want to read the May 22nd.
It says, please see meeting minutes. Applicant stated they were at meeting due to height of walls, no indication regarding land alteration exceeding 50 cubic yards moved. They put that under the township approves the request because. And in the minutes, then it gets into what was discussed in general at the meeting, moved back from 10 feet from OHW to 14 feet. The wall will go from 42 inches to 65 inches. This will bring the grade up. Other walls along the upper edge of the property, and it's currently 46 inches, but will be built to 72. Current impervious surface is 25.5, and they're proposing to take out surface area, bring down the total impervious to 24.9. They did have engineering done for both the walls to plan how to structure the new stone walls. Supervisor Hallstrom stated he liked the fact that they had engineering done. Supervisor Ferguson, coverage to meet the code. Supervisor Ferguson made a motion to approve the 65-foot high retaining wall 14 feet from the OHW and the 72-inch high retaining wall due to current wall foundation is failing. The walls are an improvement and the impervious surface is being brought to 24.9%. Supervisor Hallstrom seconded the motion. Motion carried. That was their minutes. And then the June 6th, no one present at June meeting moved to July 9th meeting. So my guess is they meet the first Tuesday of the month. And so they would have met roughly the
Yes, 2 days ago.
5th.
So,
But as far as the May, so the applicant was submitted to Wright County on May 15th. So they went to the township before they brought their application to us.
okay. So what, Chairman, that's a lot of discussion that they've had. And and he did what the county asked. They got ahead. We're talking July 9th. That's over a month. And then he has to come back here. They're talking, it's gonna be almost fall.
Yeah, we don't meet until July 12th.
No, June 22nd, or 27th is the next meeting.
But that's
June
after-
27th is
before
the next meeting.
Oh, yes, it is, you're
Right,
right.
because July 9th, then we're talking way to the end
Then
of
it's the
July.
18th, I think.
18th is our next July meeting. July 18th.
Yeah, we only have one meeting in July.
Yeah, and so my thing, I mean, I get it, but they had a lot of discussion. They looked at this and like Commissioner Bravender said, you can see that there's a lot of rock, that's a lot of movement. They actually extended the wall so that, I mean, when they talked about the wall,
He said he
I
brought
just
up-
feel like-
We're bringing up grade is what it said in there.
yeah, so that's what I struggle with. I mean,
Make a motion.
Mr.
yeah, I'll make the motion that we go ahead and approve this. I don't, wait to the right.
Mr. Chair, I was going to make a comment. However, if.
Oh, you
if-
could make,
Do you want to make a motion? You've got the floor.
oh yeah, I'll make the motion,
Okay.
but I have to find it first.
Make your comment.
Paper copies are great.
If you're on the electronic copy, page 83.
Well, I have to find, I was looking at a different copy. Oh, okay.
Here.
Now she'll want your glasses.
Can I ask one question? So the reason we didn't submit our application till the 15th was that I thought we needed approval from township, and then we submit our application and pay for it with the county. I guess that was just the order of operation I thought it moved in. Otherwise, we would have definitely
It's,
applied way prior to, because I
Again,
I don't
this
think
really isn't on you. This is a miscommunication
okay.
right.
of what the township was understanding, and then when we sent out our notice, it was for a conditional use permit. They thought they were approving a variance, and they approved it as variances where a variance is not needed. So there's just more of a communication between the county and the township, and that's what we're hung up on, is to make sure that the township has physically seen and knows what is happening. And they approved it as a variance, they just did not approve it as a conditional use permit for land alteration.
Okay.
So, I think I said that correctly.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit for a land alteration in accord with the plans and narrative submitted and the discussion at the hearing with the following conditions. Stormwater and erosion control measures must be installed prior to any land alteration occurring and remain in place until vegetative cover has been established. Property must meet the 25% impervious surface coverage requirement.
Do a motion, and do I have a second?
I would second that, Mr. Chair.
Motion made and seconded, now do I have discussion? Do I have any
I would
discussion?
like to
Janice?
talk about maybe putting something at the end to it that it's our understanding that based on the what's the name of your company again?
Backyard Reflections.
Okay, Backyard Reflections, that he had assumed that they had understood at his meeting all the things that he needed to do. And, but also give them the respect that I think is due to the commission that, or the township board, that if they disagree with our interpretation, that they have the right to say, well, we understood all that, but we still want to know and see him explain to us this fill thing, or, you know, any questions that they might have that we're making assumptions on that they already know and understand.
Okay. Pat?
No.
Sandy?
Wait a minute, no, I'm good.
Would you object to amending that?
I think our minutes cover it. I think our minutes will cover all that. If they have any questions, they can ask for our minutes. And it'll all be reflected in there, how long of a discussion we had about this and worried about what the township thought. So I think we're fine. I don't think we need to add that to, that's my opinion.
And I'll make a note to myself right now to email the township in the morning to explain the vast amount of discussion that the commission had and what the commission's feelings were and why we move forward.
Mr. Chair, I call the question.
All right, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same way?
Not me.
Okay, motion carries. Janice voted against. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Do my best.
I'll get to my map. Barbara Bolander, you want to come up? Give your name, please, for the record.
And I will apologize for those that are still here. On a 12-item agenda, we always have to put somebody last. And we do our best to set the agenda. We never know how long it's going to take.
Oh.
You what?
She accidentally locked her outside.
Yeah, she locked us out, all three of us. But we got back in, don't worry. I'm Barb Bolander. These are my daughters. Can I just tell you why they're here really quick?
Why don't we go through the overview,
Okay.
then you can do it. We'll
Okay.
come back to you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this was just before the commission earlier in May, or actually in April, for the outdoor recreation portion of the totality of what's taking place here. The applicant had to go through a variance for this portion of it because she's applying and requesting to operate a home extended business in structures exceeding 2,000 square feet. That variance was granted by the Board of Adjustment on May 3rd to operate using a total of 4,246 square feet of footprint for this business. The business plan has been included in your packet. It is for the interior portion of what they're looking at doing. It'll include a craft coop, which is a 112 square foot building where there will be crafting that are done, as well as a retail outlet within the basement of the current barn, and then also using a Quonset hut on the property for storage. I was able to get some actually fairly decent photos off of what the assessors have taken, so I included those for your perusal. So the upper right, that's the Quonset. There's the barn that with the Simply Quimby scrolled on it, and then the chicken coop, that is the craft coop. Days and hours of operation are listed in the narrative. We did get approval from Cokato Township, and the city of Cokato has also indicated that they don't have any issues with the request.
Right, thank you, Barry. You can take it from there.
Okay. So I'm Barb Bolander, and these are my daughters, and they're very active in our business, and I felt that it was very important for both of my daughters to be here because they've been involved in this whole process. This is the final permit, and so I wanted them to understand what we have been working so hard for. So this is Avery, and this is Mateo. Hi. So in the pictures, the crafting coop actually looks a whole lot different now. And I just want to touch on, at the variance meeting, we did discuss making sure that we had a handicap accessible porta potty. We did rent one for our permit that we had before for the events. And we actually purchased one, so now there will be one on site all the time. It will only be used in the warmer months. So, yeah, so that's pretty much it.
I'll ask the public, is there anyone in the public that would like to comment? Anyone from the public? If not, we'll bring it back up here. Do we have any questions, concerns, comments about what the permit is for?
Yeah,
Jeannie?
Chair. I do have a question from the District 5 Commissioner. Will there be overflow parking that would get onto the road at all? When you have an event?
No, so we had an event Memorial Weekend, that Saturday. We did because we had the event permit or outdoor use permit. Okay, I'm sorry. And we were very diligent to make sure that nobody parked on the road. And so we actually had a person that had pulled up and parked on the road, and I had a person that was parking people, and he went over and said, nope, 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 you can't park on the road. Please pull in here, and this is where you're going to park. So we are very conscious of that to make sure that there is going to be nobody parking on the road.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that was a condition of the commercial outdoor recreation use that was granted in April.
And I also drove by twice that day. She doesn't know that, but I did.
Checking you out.
that's okay. I welcome it, actually.
Any other concerns or discussions here with this? Is somebody prepared to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion, and I would like to thank everybody for coming to the meeting tonight and to adding to the success of your future business that you're going to be entering into. So thank you, ladies,
Good
for
thing
coming.
It's not a school night.
Okay, and now I'm going to make the motion.
Right, Janice?
I'm going to make a motion to approve an interim use permit to operate a seasonal retail business in an existing barn and crafting co-op with associated storage in a separate building in accord with the discussion and the plans and the narrative on file with the following conditions. Number 1, business to operate no more than 3 days per week. Number 2, hours of operation are limited to 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., with 1 day per week being allowed to no later than 8 p.m. Number 3, all required permits and inspections are obtained. Number 4, sanitary facilities should be provided in a quantity recommended by the County Environmental Health Office and must include handicap accessibility. Number 5, this request is subject to a 1-year township review to ensure compliance and that the township road is handling the amount of increased traffic. Number 6, no parking on the township road. Number 7, any change in use or expansion requires an amended interim use permit hearing. Number 8, this permit shall expire upon transfer of the property, termination of any lease agreement, or change in business ownership or operations.
Mr. Chair, before you get a second, so we don't have to go through the friendly motion, on number 4, what you said, Jan, I believe it should read sanitary facilities shall be provided in a quantity recommended by
Okay.
the county environmental health, not should. That makes it optional. I think it needs to be mandatory.
Okay, should be provided.
Shall.
Shall be provided, okay. Yes, I will change my wording.
And I did leave something off of number 5 where it talks about the township review in 1 year. And it should also include further review to be at an interval determined by the township. So that way it's not an every year thing. If the township says we're good with it for 3 years, then we will send that review for 3 years, but that's then up to the township's discretion.
Yes, I will add that to
I will
the
second
motion.
that.
Motion made and seconded. The only thing I would clarify, Barry, in this motion, does it cover what the Board of Adjustments wanted with them being able to use the upstairs loft in the future if they so chose?
The plan we have doesn't include it. They would need to come back to amend it
Okay.
at that time.
Just want to clarify that, but they wouldn't have to go to the Board of Adjustments for it.
No,
because they
no,
already
Board of
took care
Adjustment
it.
has added it,
Yep.
and that part is done, but if they want to now refurbish and use it,
Okay,
they would have to come back and,
to this board.
Yep.
Okay. Just want to clarify that. Yeah.
Can it's actually for Greg. So because my mother is the property owner, I know before we had it transferred because I'm on the transfer of death deed. So I'm just questioning that at the time that the property transfers from her to me, do I need to come back and review?
yep. So this, another amendment to number 7, this permit shall expire upon transfer of property, termination of any lease agreement, or change in business ownership or operation, with the exception of a transfer to Barbara Bolander.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, we did it on the last one,
Okay.
and so I had the language right there. I just,
Sorry.
I didn't roll it over.
No, good
glad you
question
brought
to
it up.
ask. Are you
Yeah.
be
Thank you for
back
mentioning
here?
that.
Yeah. Save you some time.
Any
See,
other,
Terry gets a lot of paperwork, so thank you for pointing it out.
Yeah. Yes.
any other discussion here? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hey,
Aye.
Opposed, same way. Motion carries.
Congrats, guys.
Good luck.
Thank you.
We're super
Wow.
15
This
pages
has been a
of
long
staff report. I'm gonna
process.
make some mistakes.
All right, thank you.
Say what you
Good
want.
luck. Thanks for coming.
Yes, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Good luck with your business, girls.
All right,
I don't mind putting it on there.
William Heinonen, want to come up? Give your name, please?
Next up.
Sorry, I forgot to consult you, Dan.
I'm William Heinonen.
So, Dan, do you want to introduce this one, or? Mr. Chairman, this property is in Cokato Township. It's on the 16.61 acre large lot that was part of the Pheasant addition that was platted by Kyle Ashwell as an industrial development. The request is to lease a building from Mr. Ashwell's contractor's yard property that isn't being used for an auto sales business, primarily online sales, but would include some storage or exterior display of cars on site. I believe it was the city has recommended that it be limited to no more than 5 outside storage, as well as they'll have some interior space and detailing space on the inside of the building. Both the township and the city have approved. This development has a developer's agreement that lists specific uses that can be allowed within this, and the applicant went to both the city and the township, and they both agreed to amend that developer's agreement to allow this use on the lot.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Is there anything you'd like to add to as to what you're,
No, just doing one-man operation for now, taking mostly pre-sold vehicles that are pre-ordered, so I won't hold that large, I don't need the large inventory of display there.
will you have any other things outside storage other than 5 vehicles? Will there be
No.
anything else outside?
Not that's mine. There's some of the Ashwell construction stuff there that it's in that same property, but not mine, no.
Any added light to the buildings?
It's already there.
Already there, so you'll be using all the existing stuff? You
Yeah.
won't be adding any lighting to the building or
Correct.
anything like that? Okay. Anything else from the board? Otherwise, I'll open it up to the public. Does the public have any comment? Gentleman there, if you want to have a seat. And gentleman there, if you want to give your name for the record, please.
So my name is Chris Hogemeyer. I am with Western Integrated Seed, that is the neighbor directly to the north, the large building at the top of the screen there, the former Fairbolt Foods location. We have a seed plant in that location now, and store a lot of seed corn at that location. So I guess I didn't know what exactly was going in there, and it sounds like from hearing it, there's going to be cars turning over regularly, so maybe that's not as much of a concern. I just wasn't sure what the storage plans were going to be for vehicles. the backside of that building obviously faces down that way. Seed corn is stored in there for a large part of the year. It's actually a fairly high value item, and it does not mix at all well with rodents or anything like that getting into them. It damages the value of that. So I guess I was just concerned, not knowing what was going to be there, that there aren't, cars, stored, especially outside that become homes for mice and other sorts of things that could create pressure. We track very closely rodent pressure at all parts of the building and the backside of the building, just because there's not as much activity back there already, is relatively higher pressure than any other parts of the building. So just would like to make sure that there's nothing that causes more rodent pressure along that side of the building. So
All right.
that was my only big concern, but thanks. Try to make it quick. I know it's late.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else from the public that would like to comment? Gal there in the back.
Hi, I'm Paula Copey. I'm Paula Copey. I live just east of where they're proposing this business. I just was curious how they're planning to access it, where the road is coming into his business. Is it coming from Quimby? I live on 3rd Street.
I think I can answer that.
Okay, Dan?
I think, Paul, they're only allowed to come in off of Quimby in that
Okay.
development. That's the only access they're allowed to use.
Okay. I'm just concerned of the kind of noise it may make or commotion that's gonna go on there. It used to sit vacant land there. I've been there for 20 years, and it was peaceful, tranquil property. And I mean, it's definitely changing, and I don't know if I can say anything about it, if the city's already approved this. Is that right? You
It's
said
not city property, it's township property.
Well, the business has been approved to go
But it's
in?
township, not city.
Okay.
Yep.
So does anything I say have any merit for anything here, or?
Well, everybody that's allowed to comment, it has merit.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
well,
as a
I mean, I waited quite a
neighbor
while.
who got noticed, you have the ability to make comment.
Okay. All right. I'm concerned about it all, and I like the way it used to be, but, I mean, things change. I hope that tree line will stay there, because I don't want to have to see anything that's disrupting the nature that's taking place. I don't want to see it at all, but that's how I feel.
Okay.
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 Thank you.
Thank you very
Well,
much
and
for your comments.
I think those are fair concerns to address it. The tree line has nothing to do with this request for this use in this building. So nothing that's happening tonight is going to touch the trees. And I think relative to the sorts of uses that we do get requests for and sometimes do approve, the intensity of this use and the noise of this use shouldn't be much. And I don't think you're gonna notice a change with this gentleman's business going in there. And the trees aren't, somebody else can touch those trees, but it's not anything to do with the permission on this one.
Okay. Do you know anything about
Can
that?
can you come back to the microphone, please, so you can go on the recording?
Sorry. The easement it butts right up to my property. There's the easement road. That's probably, does that go to Kyle Ashwell then? Because he bought all that? Or do you know what's going on with that easement road at all?
That is part of his lot.
The easement?
Part of it is, but then
It is part of his lot, and I do believe there's conditions in the development that it can't be used.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Because that's not actually, the city ends at that, the city road ends at the end of the, yeah, we got a picture of it there.
Yeah, this is city limits.
This is where the city limits is right here. But now, beyond that, that's not actually a platted road. So we don't maintain it.
Right, I do,
Yeah.
actually, I do.
So there's no township road beyond that, and then Kyle's property is whatever was outlined before there.
Okay.
So then, to clarify, you are a township resident.
I guess so.
But very close to the city.
Yeah.
Right, it's kind of weird how it,
You gotta get
how
through the city
things
to
happen
get-
and don't happen there.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that you were a township resident voicing concerns.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Anyone else from the public? It's kind of quiet. I guess the applicant can come back up.
Mr. Chair, if the planning commission is looking to make a motion, I just have one slight change to number 5 because the applicant does not own this property. So I think we need to change number 5 to remove the words transfer of the property, because if the landlord sells the property, I don't think we want to terminate this IUP on this applicant.
All right, thank you. Is there any more that you want to add as to what's going to be going on in the building? Are you running a detail shop in the building? It says on our map detail, so is that just strictly for the cars that you're
Correct.
selling, or are you going to be running a detail?
No, I won't be doing a detail shop out of there.
Okay, and
Just
then
the cars I'm selling.
all people accessing your property will access it from Quimby?
Quimby.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other concerns or questions? Ken?
I'm just kind of curious. Now, you're what do they call them? Lessor or lessee? You're leasing the property. How long a term is that?
That's 1 year per state requirements of a dealer's license.
I see. And you were just going to use that one little building up in the northwest corner, correct?
That is correct.
Now, this gentleman spoke about having seed corn stored. Are you down, was this gentleman down in that lot as well? Do you?
No.
No, it's across the
Yeah,
road.
you're across the
Across the
railroad
road.
tracks.
Right here.
Okay. Yeah, okay. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Is it Heinen or Heinen?
Heinen.
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 Told you.
All right, is there any other discussion? Are we ready for a motion? Dan?
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion to approve an interim use permit to operate a used auto dealership in an existing building on the property in accord with the discussion, plans, and narrative on file with the following conditions. Number 1, no more than 5 vehicles be stored or placed outdoors. Number 2, all required permits, inspections are obtained. Number 3, this request is subject to 1-year township review with subsequent review at an interval established by the township. Number 4, any change in the use or expansion requires amended interim use permit hearing. Number 5, this permit shall expire upon termination of any lease agreement or change in business ownership of operations. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Do we have any other discussion? There's no other discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same way. Motion carries. Thank you. Is there anything else that needs to come before the board tonight?
I believe just adjournment, Mr. Chair.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Chair?
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have something for.
Who seconded, Jeannie?
I did.
I have something